me coffee in the morning, gotta have a coffee. Wake me up, shake me up, dip me back a pussy. One sip, two sips, set a feeling so alive. Coffee in the morning, it's the best way to survive. Woke up in the morning, sleepy eyes yawning. Jumped out of bed, started the day, opened the curtains. Felt the cool breeze, the sun shining on my face. But something was missing, I needed my job to chase. Give me coffee in the morning, give me coffee in the morning, gotta have a coffee. Wake me up, shake me up, dip me back a pussy. One sip, two sips, set a feeling so alive. Coffee in the morning, it's the best way to survive.
Hello, welcome back, everyone. You guys give me a sound check. Let me know that you can hear me up here. Wrong platform. What are you talking about, Miss Ma'am? Hold on. Let me.
I'm typing the
Okay.
emoticon codes for Discord instead of
Oh,
YouTube.
okay. I gotcha. It's confusing sometimes. Which platform am I on? So, welcome back, everybody, and welcome over, everybody. We were just over at Joe's channel having a good conversation over there about Brian Koberger and watching that WSU stop that he got. Watching that again in length. Let's see. So we have a feed coming out of the Associated Press, and they have an outside of the courthouse feed going. So we can take a look at while we're
Oh,
waiting.
that's good.
Yeah, I thought the same Dolphin. I
See
was
the
like, I
protest?
wonder. That's what I was wondering. So I had to go look to see if I could find one. I was like, oh, lo and behold, I found one. So
uh,
there we are. That's all they show, though. They were talking. I think I muted them. Yeah. She was talking about whoever the reporter is. She was tweeting something a few minutes ago. So somebody trolled Twitter. I don't know who she is, which news affiliate she's with. Um, but they're not showing any protests yet, Dolphin, that I've seen. So we've heard rumblings, guys, that Steve Gonzalez, Kaylee Gonzalez's dad, was going to be there and going to be protesting. But then I've also heard, people were saying, "Oh, they can't make it there in time. They wanted to postpone the hearing." So who knows? I don't buy the couldn't get there in time thing. Whose accent are you talking about, Miss Lucy? You talking about mine?
yeah, I would imagine so.
But I'm not from
But you're not from
Alabama.
Alabama, though, so yeah.
Close enough, so I'll give her that. I'm so close, I could reach out and touch them. I'm not even joking. I'm 20 minutes from the Bama line. Yeah, that's me. I'm proud of my heritage. Y'all have to excuse the way I talk sometimes. I'm below the Mason-Dixon line and it just comes out. It is what it is. So, have you seen anything else new floating around out there, Dolphin, that we might have not covered, talked about earlier, or?
Oh, I don't know. I've been linking some things back and forth in Discord, and I
Oh,
went to
yeah.
go lie down with Pipsqueak for a few, and
Uh,
oh gosh, I don't know.
got your butterfly there. Okay, butterfly did link us a second ago to Brian Enton on the Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Gonzalez family has arrived. Steve
He
walked with the
left. He
family
couldn't
to the
be in
front of the
there.
courthouse.
Oh,
Oh, we missed that on this feed then. Okay, so Steve walked with the family to the front of the
ooh.
courthouse. They all went inside, but Steve is now leaving. He said yesterday he couldn't be in there. Oh, wow. Unless maybe he knows himself better than we know him,
I'll
and
be
that
right
might be
back.
it.
Food's here.
Okay. Oh, God, not the food. That might be a good thing if he really can't bring himself to be in there. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to give him that grace because I could only imagine what he feels like doing and he knows he can't, right? Hey, 12 gauge, welcome in. I, 12, guys, when I told you this morning when I did my first live stream that I got up in the middle of the night and I couldn't sleep and I had the victims were on my mind. So I go to YouTube and there's 12 gauge doing the same thing I was doing up in the middle of the night and had this on his mind. Dolphin was apparently doing the same thing. Um, yeah, thanks for coming in, guys, and watching it here with us. This history, if you will, for the true crime community, and this case especially. I've been watching true crime, like 40 years, whatever. But this case was my introduction into social media and true crime. I didn't get into it during the pandemic because, whatever, I was like doing other things. But then I discovered I was already in the Web3 space and in social media space and the Discords, doing all kind of stuff with NFT teams. Lady and I over there were friends, and we both loved true crime. We began talking about this case because it was literally just happening. They can't believe they haven't caught the guy yet. All the things. And then, oh my God, did you hear they caught the guy? Oh my God, did you know there was surviving roommates? All this stuff. And began to figure out social media part in this. And what a wild ride it's been. The Idaho Fort
Okay, I'm
case in
back.
social media has been the wildest ride through this space that I've ever seen. I thought, Delphi was wild, Karen Reed was wild. This case, I think, topped it all because in each of the other two cases, there was only one alternate scenario put forth. Here, there was like 50 million, and it was a lot to navigate, right? A
Mm.
lot. And lines were drawn in the sand and division and all the things. And then I felt like that spilled over into Karen Reed and Delphi. And it's always going to be a divide, I suppose. But this one really just baffled me the way it played out before my eyes in the social media aspect of it, right? And how that plays into it and maybe not plays into it. But we saw so much with this case. The bad information, the misinformation, the outright lies, the leaking
Yeah.
messages between here, random people, and TikTokers putting somebody up to saying they were Dot on the balcony and they saw this and that.
Oh, I know. Who was it? Like, I don't know, several days ago, somebody
Mm-hmm.
brought up Dot, and I was just
Mm-mm.
like it was valid. And I was
Like
just
it
like,
was
wait a minute,
right.
are you people still talking about Dot? Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, she was alive and well on TikTok for a long time, even if they finally came clean, but still kind of wanted to hold out this little notion that I might have lied about a lot of things, but I didn't lie about what I knew. Like, no, come on, sit down with that mess. You're not even
Hmm.
Dot. You're not even, that's not even your name,
You're
right?
not even college age. Like, let's
No.
start with that for, you
Who
know,
are you again? You saw
number
Emma and
one.
Demetrius doing what with Dylan? Come on, right? All the things that I saw people on Twitter screaming, I've emailed the defense. Well, that really worked out well, didn't it?
Yeah, right.
They were able to gain a lot of great information from social media on this case. It may have worked in the Karen Reed case. It may have helped. It really helped in Delphi. It didn't help here at all. In fact, all the stuff Anne saw that she thought might help turned out to be nothing burgers, as they call them. I'll never forget that one time she stood up in court and said, the 400 witnesses, and one witness has talked to the media too much. Well, who the hell could that be since no one's talking to the media? Oh, do you mean WSU Mom Kim and her social media rounds? Is that who we referring to? The witness and the media? Yeah,
Her
that's what
social media blitz
that
is more
social
like it.
media chick blitz, right? Her that video I made of her. If I come into your chat and your numbers are down and they're going down, oh, I'm coming up on panel. I thought, Heifer, who do you think you are? I'm gonna come save your channel, put me on your panel. I'd love to have her on my panel.
She said that to you?
She said it. No, she said it in a on a panel over on Rory's panel one day, and I clipped it and I made a whole ass video on her. I've made several videos on Kim. Where you at, Cotton Eye Joe? I'm still looking for you. You've kind of left this flat earth, right? She left the flat earth. Yeah, she
Oh
said
boy.
in a she got on panel anyway, and they're asking her about her time, the Idaho 4 case, and she's like, yeah, and if I'm in your chat and your numbers are going down, and I see they're going down, I'm coming up on your panel, and you're putting me up there. And I
Mm,
thought, man, they all knew real quick, like I platformed WSU Mom Kim, I'm about to get some views. I'd still love to platform
there
her,
we go.
not for the reasons everybody else was.
There we go.
I got hard questions for you, Miss Kim. I always had. Melissa Jade was the only one that you let come close enough to ask them. And boy, she ripped you a new one. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Hey, Firefly, welcome in. I'm glad you could make it. I hope you are undisturbed at work and long enough to keep your earbuds in so you can hear the whole hearing. Would hate for, and you're totally invested too. We would hate for you to have to miss this. Um, I still think there's a lot of surprise about this across the board, even with those who felt like he did it. I didn't see a plea deal coming. Well, I never thought the defense would approach and ask for one as hard as Ann Taylor seemed to be going.
I don't know. Maybe that's her recipe for how she represents all her death penalty clients.
I don't know if it's all of them or if it's just this one. I don't know that. I haven't looked. Honestly, I didn't even look. It's probably pretty easy to find out. Um, so I don't know if she's I mean, asked for a plea deal in all her cases. I have no clue. She probably wouldn't be the top death penalty attorney in the state if she one of the top in the state if that's all she ever did, right? I don't know. Donnie, you did. Hey, publicly buzzed. Welcome in. Good to have you here. Donnie, you always said the deal was coming. You predicted it. You felt it in your bones, didn't you? This guy's gonna plea. I guess when the pressure got too hot, right? And I was saying this morning, was the pressure getting too hard for him? Did Ann finally say, look, I've tried everything. Everything. I can't get the alt perps in because we know they were investigated and we know that was done right when their alibis and all that are good and yours is not. Their DNA wasn't on the sheath, yours was. Can't get that out of there either because apparently everything was done right during the investigation and I cannot get that sheath out based on, anything. Training records are good. Chain of custody is good. It's actual DNA there, not touch and transferred and all that mess. You touched it. We know it. What was it about the case that led her to say, what, this is in your best interest? Now, the jury was going to be shown a lot of very graphic things.
Hmm.
So if Ann Taylor wasn't there yet in convincing this jury that there might be reasonable doubt, and then they take a look at this horrific crime scene, and they saw what you actually did to the bodies of those individuals, namely Ethan Chapin, how are they going to look at you? Are they going to want to take the death penalty away, or are they going to hand it down full force? It would be a huge risk, right? And so I don't know if what got him there finally. Some suggest, he didn't want to put his parents through anything, but then there's people who say, well, did he feel anything for the parents?
You know what? She could have also said to him, look, the motion to continue was denied and alternative perpetrators was denied. And then, Dateline came out. And then, Amazon is coming out, next Friday. And then the Monday after that is the book from James Patterson. So, they're having like three things very close to the trial that were going to flood their jury pool with information.
Yeah, exactly. It would have been a lot to come. And
Hmm.
Brian Enton just reported, well, about 29 minutes ago, according to the tweet, that Steve Gonzalez was outside court and he says the prosecutors made a deal with the devil. Hmm. The man is a very angry man today, and I can't say I blame him as I don't feel a certain kind of way about him. I will do this. I'm going to send him peaceful vibes and pray that man gets some peace because this cannot be easy, especially if you wholeheartedly needed that guy to go to trial. They want answers. but are they seeking answers they may never have gotten to begin with? Because there was no guarantee Koberger was going to get on that witness stand and talk at all. There was no guarantee that there was going to be a motive come out during the trial. You don't always have to have a motive.
Right. Did you see the little news clip that I linked where
Let's see.
they had their statement and it listed exactly what they wanted to hear
Okay.
from him?
Let me go take a look at that. Also reported, Brian Inton reported that Chapin family has also arrived, and
Oh, good.
yeah, and then he just says they're such a wonderful family. I think everybody can agree with that. Let me go see what Dolphin linked me in the Discord, guys. Yeah, you guys are.
Not everybody, because some people
Oh yeah,
took
true,
issue with them, remember?
true. Oh, that's yeah. Well, the
Because
weirdos.
they weren't behaving like the
Yeah,
Gonsalveses.
yeah. You had that team sit down, Steve, and then that team. Oh my God, what's wrong with Stacy? She's not reacting. Like weird. Y'all are
Mm-hmm.
weird. Just quit being weird.
Yep.
Can we just not be weird, right? Can we be grown-ups?
Mm.
Can you I know it's really hard to imagine losing your child, but because you can't, don't put yourself in that shoe ever. No matter how that parent's reacting. They might rip your head off. Okay, which you guys were busy in the Discord earlier when I was live with Joe and I was co-hosting over there with
Mm-hmm.
Joe. I heard you guys popping up. I'm like, what in the world are they doing? They're doing it without me. What were y'all making food and stuff? Oh my God. Okay, I got to get to where this was. Dolphin, was it a Brian Inton's? Oh, oh, that was a statement from the Koberger family on that one that Butterfly linked. We'll look at that too. I can read that. I saw that they put a statement out, and their attorney also made a statement to a local affiliate there in Pennsylvania. I can't recall if we played that this morning or not, where the attorney just asked for the family to have their privacy. Okay, here it is, I think. Fox News clip, right, Dolphin? Okay.
It's fairly short.
Okay, well, let me link it here and then save it. Okay. Okay, so it was a Fox News piece. Let me take this down and we'll pull it up really quick. Take a look at it. Okay. What in the world? Everybody's popping off with live. Sorry, my phone is not as silent and it usually is. Y'all are probably hearing all my notifications. Oh my God.
Oh, okay. And the
Okay.
court thing, it just says court will resume shortly off of their YouTube feed.
Okay. So,
Nothing, no action yet.
okay. Let me pull up what I just pulled down here. Okay, Fox News clip. Here we go. It's like a 5-minute piece. I hope this is the right one. You can tell me. Let me pull it up. Okay, let me grab this. Share my screen again. Oh, somebody gift out memberships. Oh, thank you. Welcome in, everybody who just received your memberships. I appreciate you guys for coming in and watching with us. Forrest Nelson, thank you so much, sir. You're so kind. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Okay. Oh,
his plea deal. The family of one of the victims, Kaylee Gonsalves, issuing this new statement saying the following, quote, "We stand strong that it is not over until a plea is accepted. We will not stop fighting for the life that was stolen unjustly. While we are cognizant that some may have wanted the plea, the prosecution relayed to us it was not a majority vote that was the deciding factor in offering this plea." The family would go on to say they, quote, "require a full confession, full accountability, location of the murder weapon, confirmation the defendant acted alone, and the true facts of what happened that night."
Former state prosecutor Elliot Feelig joins us now. Elliot, thank you so much for being here. What are the chances that happens, and what are the chances it happens today at the plea hearing?
Well, the judge is almost certainly going to accept the plea. And judges recognize that it's prosecutors who are elected by the people to make these sorts of decisions. The judge can ask for a full allocution. I don't think they're going to get all the answers. The judge isn't required to, for example, request that a motive be provided. But by and large, this plea is almost certain to go through. Judges generally say, I'm not going to step in and insert my own discretion and say it's too lenient, it's too harsh. Provided the person pleads to the full docket, that's it.
And just to be clear, under Idaho law, there is no way for that judge to force Kohberger in the act of pleading guilty to give that exact allocution that the victim's families want.
No, just has to allocute to the facts and show that it's a knowing and voluntary plea.
So the Menendez brothers got life in prison without the possibility of parole, and they spent their 35 years behind bars trying to get out of it.
Right.
And look where they are today. Could you foresee something like that happening with Bryan Kohberger?
No, I think this is such a heinous crime. And I understand why people object to this not being death penalty. You look at this and you say, if not for this, then why we even have a death penalty on the books? That being said, I don't think he'll ever see freedom.
As a former prosecutor, do you think that this case from start to finish was properly handled by the Idaho prosecutor?
Well, I don't blame them for wanting certain things asked and answered if he's going to answer, right? I don't know
Oh
how
no.
the judge can,
Yeah.
I don't know how what all the judge can impose to force him into, but I don't blame them for wanting certain things answered. I would have like a whole host of questions probably. I can't imagine that I wouldn't. Gosh, I really can't imagine that I wouldn't. Again, welcome in everybody who received your memberships. We're so glad you could be here. It's a lot to take in for the families, regardless. Even just the fact that it happened is a lot to take in. Yeah, the Menendez brothers committed a horrendous crime too. I watched most of that trial. I walked away feeling some kind of way, but that's just me. Do I feel like they may have served their time by now? Maybe. Maybe. That's one of those cases, was there reasonable doubt or was it reasonable at all? Does anything justify what they did, right? No. And then just you got to get past what they did afterwards too, spending all the money. Once you get past all the stuff that looks damaging and you look at all the stuff that may not be so damaging, you're like, damn, why's it got to be like this? Now you think's a lot, right? Always try to go into these cases open-minded for that reason. One of the reasons. Okay, let me see if I can get the feedback up here where we need it. There should be, it still says resuming shortly on the
Right.
on the law and crime feed, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
On the law and crime feed. And then I think they still have the outside of the courthouse. Jesus, that thing starts playing in my ear too much. Okay. Hmm.
Oh, Donnie.
What'd he say?
He said, I'm starting to think Steve G is mad. He can't keep getting money from the loss.
Mm, the GoFundMe, is that what everybody's talking about? I don't know. Okay, so we just have the stream up, guys. It still says court will resume shortly. I'm going to get the feed up so when they do start, we're already there. And I'll hit refresh, but I have it pulled up on the side as well so we can see. All right.
I don't know. I mean,
I don't
honestly, you
know.
would think that their attorney would kind of like counsel them to say, you can get more, what is it, more flies with honey? Is that the phrase? Or
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, because honestly, Brian doesn't have to tell them anything,
No.
And it's like, throwing, tantrums in all these different media outlets is probably not doing them any favors with him. You know what I mean? Like,
No,
he
and
might just be sadistic enough to just be like, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna let them twist, longer,
mhm.
and let them wonder longer.
Well, you can believe that Brian Koberger is well aware of who Steve Gonzalez is.
Oh, yeah.
Well aware, right? I'd go so far as to say he's seen the man on TV a time or two.
Oh, yeah. And heard
Yeah,
all about how they wanted
on
him to
him.
go before the firing squad.
Yeah, the big firing squad.
And Chrissy just flat out said, I want him dead, you know?
Well, I don't blame her for saying
I
that.
don't either, but
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
yeah.
it's
I
like
mean,
some of those things probably, might be in his mind, you know?
yeah, I don't. That's the thing, though. They don't care what's in his mind, right? They're not thinking of it that way, and that's why they are just very different people than the Chapins. And I'm a
Hmm.
little bit of both. Really, the way I'm going to react, it really depends on you, not you personally, but the
Right.
person before me, the situation before me, how I'm going to react. Sometimes I may not be able to control the way I'm about to react, and you might not like what I'm about to say. I get where Steve and Christy come from, but I'm also really spiritual and know I have other things to do, and that's where I'm like Stacy Chapin. I'm a little bit of both families all rolled into one, and I've been in their shoes, not to the point where my child was murdered, but I lost a child. So I get that walk. That's why I don't really have opinions either way. Do I think they need to sit down sometimes and be a little quiet? Probably, but I still don't judge them for it either way. I've always tried to really be open about that where these families were concerned, because I people can tell me all day long, if I had to walk in your shoes, I'd be this and this and this, and I just look at them, and in my mind I'm thinking you wouldn't be as bad as you think you are. I promise. You have to have lost your mind. I would have,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Um, so it's, I just try to give them grace. Like, I don't agree with all they say and do, but I get the emotions. I get it.
Oh, I mean, I totally get the emotions and everything.
You know,
No,
it
I
gets the
don't
best of them
know what
sometimes.
they've been through,
Yeah.
obviously. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, what I'm seeing,
Hmm.
like
I get
sitting
it.
back objectively,
Mm.
and that's what I'm saying. Their lawyer is removed a little bit more, a whole lot more removed from it. And I would just like to think that he has been trying to counsel them or whatever, but
Oh,
it's
I think he
probably
has.
not doing any good,
It
you
didn't do
know?
any good. The thing
Hmm.
about Shannon Gray is Shannon Gray was the attorneys for Kay Woodcock and Larry, because the Idaho wanted them to not be a part of the trials because they were due to testify as witnesses. Shannon Gray
Hmm.
became their attorney. Shannon Gray arranged it so that Kay and Larry could go testify first and get them out of the way so they could sit there and watch the trial of Lori Vallow, who murdered their grandchild. That's how I knew of Shannon Gray. The next thing
Hmm.
I know, he's the attorneys for the Gonzalez family. Not a doubt in my mind, he's tried to guide them through the whole process, and he's caught hell along the way because he couldn't control Steve Gonzalez. You're
Right. Hmm.
It's not his fault. What's
No,
he gonna
yeah.
what's he gonna do? Put some handcuffs on him and slap duct tape over his mouth? Shut up, dude. No,
Yeah.
not happening. Steve Gonzalez is Steve Gonzalez. I don't think he really cares what any of us think. He's coming in hot. Donnie says, I'm not related to Kay. Okay. I want her to adopt me when I grow up. And I don't want to hear her say, oh boy, because that's somebody's in trouble when that happens, right? Somebody be in trouble. Um, hopefully Steve's not showing his butt too bad outside the courthouse because he doesn't want to get thrown away, like thrown out and told to leave.
Dang, they're late.
Yeah, they are. I'm like, court feed still's not up.
They're usually on time. Come on now.
There's no telling what they're not on time for.
I wonder if they're trying to get the Gonzalez's to get their butts in the
Order
courthouse.
in the court, right?
Hmm.
Get some order in this damn court so we can get on with this proceeding.
You said
Like,
who has the outside feed?
well, they don't have it up anymore. It was AP, Associated Press.
Oh, okay.
They're now showing the court stream as well.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, everybody's got the
Ooh,
same feed up
maybe
right now.
a local station. Let me look. Will you get down, please?
Yeah, when I searched local news feeds, I got the AP feed come up with the outside of the court,
Mm-hmm.
but everybody else is still showing the court will resume momentarily feed. Some local stations are talking about it. Yeah, court TV, Law and Crime, and AP all have the same feed up from inside the court, or from the court's website, I should say.
KTVB7 is outside with
Good.
somebody talking about it.
KTVB usually has good stuff up. I don't know why I didn't think to go look into them. There's them in another channel.
Oh, she's talking about the Gonzalez family.
There was another channel out of there too.
Wait. What's she saying?
Let's see. It's KTVB Idaho.
Hold on, let me.
Okay.
Have a situation where the families are disagreeing on what they want, but as you said, the prosecutors are trying to represent all of them. And
That's
also,
so tough.
also the community, the state, the public. Getting back to the terms of this agreement, Kohberger would plead guilty to all 4 murder charges, waive his right to appeal. So that means that these families would not have to come back, potentially relive this waking nightmare that they've been in the past few years and give more statements during those appeals. Also, this would be life sentences without parole, so they would not be brought back for those parole hearings either. This would be something where, as best they could, and again, as Andrea said, we can only start to imagine what they're going through, but can move sort of to the next stage in the healing process, the grieving process, to not have to deal with this on a judicial level going forward.
Absolutely. And Andrea, the death penalty, as we all know, I mean, there are years of appeals. It could be 30, 40, 50 years before he would be executed. And the parents of these children, of these young people, would not live to see him executed, most likely, with the appeals process and what happens with the death penalty. Am I right?
Absolutely, and you're also assuming a conviction and assuming that the death penalty would be ruled upon it, that the jury would agree that the death penalty was the right sentence. And we know that that also is not a guarantee. We have had dozens of defendants in Idaho over the last few decades eligible for the death penalty, but only a handful actually sentenced to death. And so again, some of those assumptions or some of those beliefs are, as Tara said multiple times, a lot of ifs. So trial is inherently risky. There are no guarantees, and I think that's really what they're trying to balance. The prosecutors are trying to balance justice. They're trying to balance victims' opinions, victims' desires, victims' wants, with also making sure that there is some accountability, enough accountability for there to feel like there is justice in this case. Now remember, defense attorneys also have to weigh this out because it is their job to represent Bryan Kohberger and do that to the best of their ability, give him, all of the rights afforded to him through our judicial process. And so they too are weighing this out. What are the risks of going to trial? What are the chances that they would be able to get an acquittal for Bryan Kohberger? Is that risk worth not taking a plea agreement because they are clearly agreeing that their client is guilty and will go to or agreeing to say that he is guilty and allow him to go to prison for the rest of his natural life. So everybody kind of weighing that out, and it is really just a really large balancing act and a whole lot at stake.
Really, it is. And I think I want to bring the focus back at 11:08. We are still waiting for court to begin. It was set to begin at 11 o'clock this morning.
Super short. One's like a minute something, and one's less
I
than a minute.
I just grabbed the one with the Chapins, and while we watch that, I'll grab the other one.
Okay.
All right, Dolphin found us a couple of great shots, guys. We're going to take a look at while we're waiting. We're keeping an eye on the feed as well. Thank you, Dolphin. All right, let me get down here to the bottom. Okay, so this one is of the Chapin family coming in. Ethan's family, mom, dad, and I'm assuming his siblings, his triplets. I'm still calling them triplets, are with him. With them. Okay. Do you see who else is with them?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yep, sure do.
wow. Wow, that's nice. They got, so that is Hunter Johnson and Emily Allant, boyfriend and girlfriend. They were the two on the 911 call. They're the ones Dylan called that morning to come over. Hunter's the one that went in and found his best friend. Okay, let me grab the other one really quick, guys, that she sent. Okay, this is Steve. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me grab that. Here we go. Well, it feels kind of surreal to see them all walk in there like that. You know what I mean? It's just,
Yeah, finally. Mm-hmm.
well, yeah, because especially with them, we don't see them a lot. Okay, let me grab this one. All right.
Oh boy, that McDonald's was right on time.
Wasn't it now? I know, I'm getting hungry. Grandson, that little turd. 1 o'clock this morning, he was still trying to play that VR. I'm like, dude, I told you like an hour, 2 hours ago to go to bed. Then you tried me. 1 o'clock before he went to bed, he's still sleeping. So he hasn't even gotten up to eat yet. All right.
Is this justice?
No.
No? Are you guys going to be in the courtroom today? Okay. Yeah, I heard you might protest outside. You're not going in. I saw your post. You said it's in the judge's hands now.
You want to go on with it, so you move it in here.
Text me if anything comes up or you need anything.
Okay. Do you need
We
me to
still have
send you the
time.
link?
Yeah, send me the link.
You got it. You got you. I got you. Okay. I got it. Cool. I got it. Good. Where's Aunt?
Is that Olivia? Not,
No,
not Olivia.
no,
Olivia.
I know who you're talking about. No.
Okay, so that wasn't
Chronicles of
her.
Olivia? No.
Yeah, that wasn't
Mm-mm.
her. Okay. Because I saw him, I was like, well, is that with him? With her? It didn't look like her,
No.
but I wasn't sure. Okay.
I thought she just said, "Where is Aunt?" Blah blah blah. So she might be her niece.
Yeah, okay, cool.
What? Maybe we'll just walk to your car. You want to do that? Yeah, it's going to be a little awkward. All right. Let's give us some space, guys.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that's where I am in right now. I didn't go inside.
Oh, that's Chanley Painter right there behind.
Huh. It is, isn't it?
Do you think there's a chance the judge will reject this plea deal?
No, I don't think so.
Really? So you're not holding out hope still?
Geez, didn't they just say give us some space? Jeez.
Well, you know how them reporters are. They're not
Yeah.
they're not giving you no space. You gotta, and you put your hand out, don't touch them, they'll sue you.
Oh yeah.
I'll take that lawsuit. You get out of here.
Court still has not started yet. Oh, I was trying to hear what they said, but
It
guess I'll
wasn't.
have to get to that later.
It cut off. I mean, I didn't take it off. It cut off. It ended
No,
just
I
like
mean
that.
when they were up there by it's on, it's
Oh,
on. They're just now sitting down.
okay, got it.
When they were up at the door, they were talking.
Oh, yeah,
hmm
yeah. Okay, here we go.
Everyone's seated.
Okay, I'm getting it right now.
Hitler looks like he's about to speak. He's got his serious look on.
Uh-oh. Oh, shit. Sorry. Oh, I see Coburgers.
All right, this is CR 0124316665. Defendant is present in custody with counsel Ms. Thompson, Ms. Jennings, and, pardon me, Ms. Taylor, Ms. Massoff, and Ms. Barlow. The state's present with Mr. Thompson, Mr. Horowitz, Ms. Jennings, and Mr. Nye is here as well. Am I miss anybody? I'm sorry.
Ms. Allen is here as well.
Ms.
Your
Allen
Honor.
is here as well. Very well, thank you. All right, we are here today to entertain a change of plea. Before I start, I want to address some issues of concern and otherwise. First, I appreciate everybody in attendance today being on their best behavior. Please, no outbursts or demonstrations. Any such conduct will result in immediate removal and may result in an inability to attend further court proceedings in this case. I want to point out that there have been calls by some for the public to contact me and my office in an attempt to influence my decision-making in this case.
Oh,
This has been extraordinarily disruptive for court staff and the ability for them to get work done, not only in this case, but in other cases
Steve
where
Atlanta?
defendants are entitled to have their cases processed, and frankly, as important, if not more so, for victims to have their cases processed in those cases. It's also highly inappropriate. A court is not supposed to, and this court will never, take into account public sentiment in making an opinion regarding its judicial decisions in cases. Courts should, and I always will, make decisions based on where the facts and the law lead me, period. I have not read any of the numerous messages nor listened to any of the numerous voicemails that have been sent to me and my staff. Those have all been forwarded to security and, where appropriate, to law enforcement.
Oh, wow.
I ask that you not continue to mount such campaigns or to send me information like this because, again, it is not appropriate and frankly not something I would take into account when deciding a matter in a case like this. I also want people to understand some very basic concepts about the ideas of separation of powers, and what the court's
Yes.
duties are, and
Yes.
what the duties and the
Teach these
rights
people.
of the executive, or in this case, the prosecuting attorney, is. The executive, the elected prosecutor, is the sole authority in deciding what charges to pursue, including whether, as well as what penalties to ask for, and what penalties to pursue, including the death penalty. This court cannot require the prosecutor to seek the death penalty, nor would it be appropriate for this court to attempt to do that. This court, in considering a plea agreement, if it were to reject this plea agreement, cannot force the state to seek the death penalty. My role and power in considering a plea agreement is extremely limited. My role is to ensure that the defendant's plea is given freely, voluntarily, and intelligently. If those things are met, I can only reject a plea, such as the one in this case, where I'm not being asked to agree to the sentence in advance. If I can only reject it, for example, if the defendant does not meet or admit to all of the elements of the crime. That is, I can ensure what is called a factual basis to the plea. Finally, I want to offer my apologies to all the families, including the victims' families, the families of the defendant, for the short notice for today's hearing, and I'm sure what must have been the hurried efforts to get here. I, like most everyone else, learned of this plea agreement Monday afternoon and had no inkling of it beforehand. Prior to that time, I was under the belief that this case was proceeding to trial, as had been indicated, and my staff and I were busy continuing to work on preparations to have potentially 10,000 citizens of Ada County come to jury duty starting in mid-July, with the questionnaire process in mid-July. It was, once I learned of the defendant's decision to change his plea in this case, it was important that I take the plea as soon as possible because of the extraordinary administrative efforts that were otherwise attendant to the process of this, getting this trial potentially underway on time, and including the significant process of bringing, again, potentially up to 10,000 jurors to come in and fill out juror questionnaires prior to the beginning of the voir dire process. And so it was important that we, if we're going to go down this road, do so expeditiously so that we can avoid those costs and expenses associated with that. Otherwise, if it was not going to result in a plea, or if for some reason the plea were to fall through today, that we could continue diligently towards trial at the time specified. And so that obviously required that we act quickly, and so some folks may have not had the amount of time that we would otherwise allow for them to travel here. And so, again, I apologize for that. I want to make people aware that during the hearing, if you are to leave the courtroom for any reason, you will not be readmitted during the hearing. Also, when we finish the hearing this morning, I ask that the public and media wait in their seats until the victims' families and the defendants' families and others are escorted out of the courtroom before you start to leave. Finally, I want to acknowledge the trial court administrator and her staff, the Ada County Sheriff, and the Ada County 4th District Marshal Service for the huge lift that they've accomplished in preparing for and orchestrating this hearing today, as well as to all the security attendant today that you see, and some of whom you, many of whom you don't see, with less than 48 hours notice. And so I appreciate the hard work that they've been doing.
Many you don't see. Holy shit.
Frankly, some of them while they were on some vacation prior to the trial starting and had to call that short. And so
Wow.
I appreciate very much their professionalism and dedication. All right. That said, let's move to the business of today. I understand the state and the defense have reached a plea agreement in this case. For the record, I have a written plea agreement which indicates in sum the defendant will plead guilty to all 5 counts in the indictment, burglary, felony, and first-degree murder, 4 counts. The state and the defendant stipulate, that is, that the defense is not free to argue for a lesser sentence at sentencing, to the following. The defendant on the burglary charge will be sentenced to 10 years fixed, and that the defendant on counts 2 through 5, the 4 counts of first-degree homicide, on each count would receive a fixed life sentence, all 5 of those counts to run consecutive to one another. Defendant, as part of the plea agreement, waives his right to appeal, as well as his right to appeal the sentence and his right to seek leniency or reconsideration of the sentence under Idaho Criminal Rule 35. This is not a Rule 11 agreement, meaning the court is not bound by the plea agreement and could impose a different lawful sentence at sentencing The stipulated agreement between the parties is the maximum on each count. So theoretically, the only thing the court could do would be a lesser sentence at sentencing. But the defendant is not free to ask the court to do so under the plea agreement. Are there any other material terms of the plea agreement that the parties would like to make? Obviously, the plea agreement, the written plea agreement will speak for itself, will be part of the court record.
Not from the state, Your Honor. Thank you.
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, very well. All right. Ms. Taylor, have you had sufficient time to discuss this case and all of its ramifications with your client?
I have, Your Honor.
Have you discussed fully with him his rights, defenses, and possible consequences to him of the guilty plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you been able to do all the discovery you feel necessary?
Yes, Your Honor.
And have you informed your client of the importance of providing the court truthful and accurate answers in taking this plea today?
I have.
Have you apprised your client of any and all offers and counteroffers and answered his questions about those?
Yes.
Do you consent to the entry of the plea today?
I do.
All right, Mr. Koberger, I need to ask you some questions this afternoon, or I guess it's this morning still. I do this to ensure that so that I am assured that you understand the nature of the charges to which I understand you're going to plead guilty, as well as the possible consequences to you of your guilty pleas. I want to make sure your plea is given voluntarily, and I want to make sure that you actually committed the crimes to which you're pleading guilty, because I don't want you to plead guilty to a crime you didn't commit. If you attempt to plead guilty today, but for some reason I don't accept your plea, then it is possible that your statements today could be used against you later at trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And now, while you're standing, actually, why don't you take the oath from the clerk?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in the matter not happening before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, and Mr. Koberg, just to make it easier, you don't need to stand when you speak to me. I appreciate the sign of respect, but for convenience, you can remain seated, all right?
Wow.
Before I start asking you questions today, have you consumed substantive questions? Let me ask you, have you consumed any alcohol, drug, or other intoxicating substance that would impair your ability to understand or exercise reasonable judgment?
No.
You feel like you are thinking clearly today?
Yes.
All right, I want you to understand what the possible penalties are for each of the crimes to which I understand you're going to offer a guilty plea today. They include, on count one, the burglary, a fine of up to $50,000 and a period of incarceration of up to 10 years in the state penitentiary. You may be required to pay restitution to any victims of the crime. Count 2, 3, 4, and 5 for first-degree murder. The consequences include a fine of up to $50,000, a period of incarceration of life imprisonment, which is a requirement of a sentence, that it be a life sentence with a mandatory minimum sentence of at least 10 years on each of those counts. In addition, you would be potentially responsible for a fine of up to $5,000 to each of the victims of your crime, to be enforced in the form of a civil judgment, to operate as additional punishment. This is in excess of any restitution or fines that the court could order. And again, you may be required to pay restitution to the victims of the crime. You would be required to provide, as to counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, a DNA sample and a right thumbprint impression, and potentially pay for analysis of those samples. You would lose any right to possess, purchase, or carry a firearm, the right to serve on jury duty, the right to hold public office, and the right to vote. Do you understand the charges and all those possible consequences?
Yes.
You've heard the plea agreement that I talked about today. Do you agree with that plea agreement?
Yes.
And do you understand the nature of the charges that you've been charged with that I understand you're going to plead guilty today to?
Yes.
As as I indicated, I'm not bound by the plea agreement, but the plea agreement is for the maximum on each count. Do you understand that I'm not bound by the plea agreement?
Yes.
Has anyone promised you that I would be lenient or easy on you if you pled guilty?
No.
Has anyone threatened you or anyone close to you to get you to plead guilty?
No.
Has anyone, other than the state's agreements with respect to the plea agreement, has anyone promised you anything in exchange for your plea agreement?
No.
Has anyone told you to be untruthful in answering my questions today?
No.
Has anyone offered you a reward of any kind other than the plea agreement in order to get you to plead guilty today?
No.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes.
Yes.
And counsel, obviously there have been a number of motions filed to suppress evidence in this case. Other than those filed, are there any other motions that you felt were available with respect to Rule 12?
No, Your Honor.
And Mr. Koberg, you understand that by entering the guilty plea in this case, you would be giving up your right to appeal any decision this court made, as well as your sentence.
Yes.
Have you had enough time to decide whether or not to plead guilty?
Yes.
Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
Given your choices, do you believe it's in your best interest to plead guilty?
Yes.
Have you discussed fully the matter of pleading guilty with your attorney, and are you satisfied with the advice you've received?
Yes.
Has your attorney advised you to your satisfaction about what your rights are, what your defenses may be, and what the possible consequences to you of your guilty plea are?
Yes.
Has your attorney done everything you've asked them to do?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with their representation of you?
Yes.
I have received a written guilty plea advisory questionnaire that is purported to be filled out by you. Did you fill that document out?
Yes.
Did you understand the questions that you answered in this document?
Yes.
And are the answers that are outlined in this document your answers?
Yes.
Are those answers truthful?
Yes.
Did you sign the document?
Yes.
And this document outlines many of the rights that you have in this case should you not plead guilty. Did you understand those rights?
Yes.
They include a right to a jury trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
They include a right to the presumption of innocence. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You have the right to require the state to prove your guilt as to each element beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand that?
Yes.
They include a right to confront your accusers and cross-examine witnesses presented by the state, including by utilizing the subpoena power of the court to accomplish that. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You understand you would have a privilege against self-incrimination and a right to remain silent, meaning you would not be compelled to testify if you did not wish to, had you not pled guilty.
Yes.
You understand you're giving up that privilege and those rights that I've just outlined by pleading guilty.
Yes.
All right, I want you to understand what the state would have had to have proven at trial had you, to the crimes that you're pleading guilty to, had you, if you didn't plead guilty. Let me find the document. Hang on a second here. All right. So as to count one burglary, the state would have to have proven that on or about November 13, 2022 in Latah County, Idaho, you unlawfully entered a residence located at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder. As to count 2, the state would have had to have proven that on or about that same date in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Madison Mogen, a human being, by stabbing Madison Mogen, from which she died. As to count 3, the state would have had to have proven that on that same date in Latah County, at that same address, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Kaylee Gonzalez, a human being, by stabbing her, from which she died. As to count 4, the state would have had to have proven that on or about that same date in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being, by stabbing her, from which she died. And then as to count 5, also murder in the first degree, that on or about November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being, by stabbing him, from which he died. Do you understand those things the state would have had to have proven?
Yes.
And do you understand that by pleading guilty, the state no longer has to prove those things because you're admitting those things are true?
Yes.
I want to also make, for the record, the defendant has provided with the guilty plea advisory form a document entitled Written Factual Basis.
Oh, yes!
That purports to have the defendant's
Holy
signature dated 1 July 2025. Did you sign that document?
Yes.
And did you agree with the written factual basis that is included there?
Yes.
Read it. Read it.
And then let me ask you, did you, on November 13th, 2022, enter the residence at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder?
Yes.
Did you, on November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, kill and murder Madison Mogen, a human being?
Yes.
Damn.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
Oh, I told you.
Did you, on or about that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Kaylee Gonzalez, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
And did you, on that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
And then on or about November 13th, 2022, again in Latah County, Idaho, did you kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being?
Yes.
Did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
Oh, God.
I would ask the state at this time to provide its recitation of its factual basis had this case gone to trial.
Yes. Yes.
Your Honor, the organization's recitation is different than what I think the court and the public may be familiar with from the probable cause affidavit.
I got Bill.
The state's evidence, as an overview, would show that back in March of 2022, when the defendant was residing at his parents' residence or was residing back in Pennsylvania, his home state, he purchased online a K-bar knife and sheath with an Amazon gift card that he had purchased shortly prior to the purchase of the knife, sheath, and sharpener. Jumping ahead, the end of June of that year, the defendant, Mr. Kohberger, moved from Pennsylvania to Pullman, Washington, which is right across the state line from Moscow, Idaho, for the purpose of pursuing a PhD in criminal justice at Washington State University. The state's evidence would indicate that beginning July 9th of 2022, Mr. Koberger's phone began connecting to a cell tower that serves the area of the 1122 King Road residence in Moscow, Idaho. Now, I will acknowledge for the court and all present that there are many residences in that area. It's a dense population of mostly college-related occupants. Between July 9th of 2022 and November 7th, the defendant's phone connected to that particular tower during late night, early morning hours, 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., on approximately 23 times. Now, I will acknowledge also, we do not have evidence that the defendant had direct contact with 1122 or with residents of 1122, but we can put his phone in that area on those times. In the interim, on August 22nd of 2022, Lake Tahoe County Sheriff's Deputy Darren Duke conducted a traffic stop in the early morning hour or late evening hours, about 11 p.m. On the west side of Moscow, on the Moscow-Pullman Road. This was the traffic stop of Mr. Koberger's car, which turned out to be a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plates. During the course of the traffic stop, Deputy Duke was able to obtain Mr. Koberger's name, Brian Koberger, his phone number, and his address, which at that point was an apartment address in Pullman. We then move to the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022. The state's evidence would show that early morning hours on that day, Mr. Koberger's phone left his Pullman residence, which is an apartment in kind of the central northwest part of Pullman. That phone was then subsequently turned off at approximately 2:54 a.m. and remained off until approximately 4:48 a.m. on Sunday, the 13th of November.
It's not me.
The state's evidence would include a trial
Is your
video
mic muted?
surveillance of a business on the Moscow-Pullman Highway, just across the state line from Moscow, that would show a vehicle matching the description of the defendant's Hyundai Elantra entering Moscow at approximately 3:02 a.m. Compiled surveillance that the investigators put together from businesses and residents then show the defendant's car, the white Elantra, as I've described, circling the 1122 King Road area, that neighborhood, starting around 3:30 or so in the morning. Comes into the immediate area of 1122 King Road, which is actually on a dead end, and then leaves several times. And approximately 4:05 that morning, the defense car had entered that area, was leaving, stopped at the intersection of King and Queen Road, did a U-turn, and the state's evidence would show that the defendant's car came back and parked behind and above the 1122 King Road residence. The state believes that its evidence would then show that the defendant entered the residence of 1122 through the kitchen sliding door on the back side of the residence, which is the side of the residence that would face the area above where the defendant's car was parked. Defendant entered the residence, went to the third floor, and with a knife, killed Madison Mogan and Kaylee Gonzalez. The defendant, as he left that room, for whatever reason, ended up leaving, or the sheath for a K-bar knife was left on the bed next to Madison Mogan's body. And I can jump ahead. That sheath was tested by the Idaho State Police Forensic Lab, and single source male DNA was found on the snap of that sheath, as well as blood from both Kaylee and Madison and other trace evidence. But it's important to note single source male DNA was on the snap of that sheath. The state's evidence would show that Xana Knodel was still awake at this time. In fact, had taken a DoorDash order not long before this started. Her room was not on the third floor, it was on the second floor on the west side. As the defendant was either coming down the stairs or leaving, he encountered Xana, and he ended up killing her, also with a large knife. Ethan Chapin, Xana's boyfriend, was asleep in their bedroom, in her bedroom. and the defendant killed him as well with a large fixed-blade knife. Each victim suffered multiple wounds. I will state for the record that there is no evidence there was any sexual component or sexual assault on any of the victims. I want to make that clear so there's no speculation. There were two other roommates in the house, and they were already asleep. During the course of this, one of those roommates awoke, looked out her door not knowing what was going on.
Yes, Joe.
And saw the defendant, who was dressed in black with a black balaclava on, holding some sort of container in his hand. And she saw him leave the house through the direction of the kitchen where that sliding door is that I mentioned before. At approximately 4:20 that morning, so this would have been 15 minutes or so later, the defendant's car is seen on a surveillance camera for 1112 King Road, which is immediately next door to the west of 1122, leaving the area at a high rate of speed. And if the court were to see that, or anybody in this courtroom would see that, you can see the car almost loses control as it makes the corner, heads north, and then turns to go south on Walinta, which is one of the only ways to get out of that part of town. The evidence would show that following that, the defendant in his Elantra drove south of Moscow. We know that he drove on the back roads because there are surveillance cameras on the main highways, Highway 95, that would have picked up the defendant's car if he'd gone that route. And they did not show the defendant's car on that route during the time. So we know that he went through a variety of back roads in very rural, isolated part of Latah County. About 4:48 that morning, the defendant's phone comes back on. And the evidence will show that that phone was located south of Moscow, likely at a side road intersection with Highway 95. From there, the defendant's phone activity tracks it heading back north towards Pullman, Washington, where the defendant lived. About 5:26, starting approximately 5:26, various surveillance cameras in Pullman, Washington pick up the defendant's vehicle as he enters Pullman from the south and heads north and slightly west towards his apartment, where he arrived at approximately 5:30 in the morning. Later that morning, this Sunday, the 13th of November of 2022, Mr. Kohberger's phone returned to the area of King Road. We don't know exactly what he did, but it returned to that area. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning. He was there for about 10 minutes and then returned to his Pullman residence. About 9:30, the state's evidence will show, evidence taken from the defendant's phone, that he took a selfie of himself on his phone in what appears to be the bathroom of his Pullman apartment with a thumbs up. The defendant's phone then went to the Lewiston-Clarkston Valley, approximately 30 miles south of Moscow and Pullman. And the defendant is actually seen with his car at various businesses down there. This area is the confluence of the Clearwater River and the Snake River. Lewiston is Idaho's seaport. Large bodies of moving water down there. In addition to tracing the defendant's activities, as I've just outlined, on the 13th and leading up to the 13th, the state's evidence will show that following Sunday, November 13th, 2022, business records show that the defendant began searching for a K-bar knife and a K-bar knife sheath, as the state believes, to replace the one that was left at the scene of the murders. The evidence also will suggest that there were at least attempts by the defendant to delete or alter his purchase history on Amazon, where all these transactions had occurred. Later that week, the state's evidence will show that Mr. Kohberger went to what we would call DMV, motor vehicle licensing here in Idaho, in Pullman, to change his car registration from Pennsylvania to Washington. That's of note because Pennsylvania cars do not require a front license plate. The vehicles seen on the surveillance cameras of the defendant's car showed it didn't have a front license plate on it. At the time of the traffic stop by Deputy Duke in August, it was Pennsylvania plate, no front license plate. Mr. Koberger proceeded to finish his semester of studies at Washington State University and returned to Pennsylvania for the holidays. Law enforcement at this point were aware of Mr. Koberger, had been accessing information about him, were trying to find him. They located him in Pennsylvania, and they conducted what's called a trash pull. During the nighttime hours, agents of the FBI, who assisted immensely with this case, working with the sanitation department back in this neighborhood in Pennsylvania, took trash that had been set out on the street for collection, sent the contents of that from the Pennsylvania residence of the defendant's parents to the Idaho State Forensic Laboratory, where the lab experts there were able to identify DNA on a Q-tip as coming from the father of the person whose DNA was found on the knife sheath that was next to Madison Mogen's body in the bed. Subsequently, an arrest warrant was issued here in Idaho, and a search warrant was issued in the state of Pennsylvania with the assistance not only of the FBI, but the Pennsylvania State Police. Mr. Koberger was arrested at his parents' home to return to Idaho. Upon his return to Idaho, a DNA sample was taken from him, and it matched the DNA found on the knife sheath next to Maddie's body at the crime scene. I can tell the court and the public, the weapon itself, the knife, has not yet been recovered. I can tell the court that the defendant's apartment in Pullman was searched, as well as his office. Spartan would be a kind characterization. There was virtually nothing there.
Wow.
Nothing of evidentiary value was found. And of course, we are now talking 6-8 weeks after the time of the killings. In Pennsylvania, the defendant's car was seized, and it was actually pretty much disassembled internally. And it also had been cleaned. There was a bucket of cleaner right beside it. I think we can all look to our own cars, you know, in those compartments in the doors. We try to keep them clean where you put stuff. There's always some degree of crud in there. It responds. The defendant's car had been meticulously cleaned inside.
Wow.
And the state would present to the jury that that was part of the defendant's plan in covering up this. The defendant has studied crime. In fact, he did a detailed paper on crime scene processing when he was working on his pre-doctorate degrees. And he had that knowledge and skill. So, Your Honor, at the end, the state submits the evidence that I've given just a quick overview of, and that to present in court would consume weeks, which the state is prepared to do and has been prepared to do, would show that as the defendant has just admitted and pleaded guilty on November 13th, 2022, excuse me, Mr. Koberger entered the residence at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho. He did that with the intent to kill. We will not represent that he intended to commit all of the murders that he did that night. We know that that is what resulted, and that he then killed intentionally, willfully, deliberately, with premeditation, and with malice forethought, Maddie Mogen, Kaylee Gonzalez.
Oh, damn, he's breaking up.
Yeah, well, I get it.
Thank you. All right, based on the state's proffer and importantly based upon defendant's explicit admission to committing these crimes, the court finds there is a factual basis. Therefore, with respect to count 1, burglary, felony, how do you plead, Mr. Koberger, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 2, murder in the first degree as it relates to the murder of Madison Mogen, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 3, as it relates to murder in the first degree for the murder of Kaylee Gonzalez, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 4, the first degree murder of Xana Kernodle, a human being, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 5, the first degree murder of Ethan Chapin, a human being, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Right. The court will find that the defendant understands the nature of the charges and each offense and the possible consequences to him of his guilty plea. The court finds that there is a factual basis for the plea and that finds the defendant believes the plea to be in his best interest. I find that the plea was given freely, voluntarily, and was intelligently made. I accept the plea. I direct that it be entered. I'll continue the matter for sentencing in this case. I think it was mentioned on the call Monday afternoon, the defense wishes to waive a pretrial investigation. Is that accurate?
Yes, Your Honor.
The state also?
Yes, Your Honor. The state does not believe pre-sentence investigation is needed given the evidence that is available. We want to, though, make sure that all of the victims have the opportunity to make statements to the court at sentencing.
Absolutely. And certainly both the state and the defense may present whatever sentencing memorandum and other documents you wish me to consider. The victims will be given an opportunity to provide the statements that they wish to at sentencing. Do we need more than one full day for sentencing?
I do not believe so, Your Honor. Obviously we have numerous victims, and we have victims who share unique perspectives on this, and we want to make sure that they all have time to express their feelings to the court. But I believe that if we can start perhaps 8:30 or so in the morning, that we should be able to complete it all in one day.
All of Kaylee's sip.
Defense agree with that in terms of the time frame?
Yes, Your Honor.
Maddie's.
All right. So as it happens, we have some time reserved in this case in July and August. The week of July 22nd is available. I don't know if that's too soon for the parties, or the next week, the week of August 4, is available. Any preference?
Your Honor, we're prepared as soon as the court wants to schedule it.
Yep.
The state, I believe, would be prepared on the 22nd. Right. We've told the victims' families that we're looking at approximately those dates.
All right. So because of the plan to bring in so many jurors to fill out questionnaires, I had ordered that no other trials could take place in this courthouse the week of July 22nd. And so we will use that in terms of the sentencing date because of what I'm sure will be the significant interest of the media and the public and the logistics that will be required to make that happen. Without trials going, it'll be a lot easier to do that. So let's pick that week. Why don't we pick July 23rd with the idea that if for some reason we don't finish, we could continue into the 24th. We'll start at 9 in the morning. Does that give your team enough time, Sandra? 9 in the morning? All right.
Yeah, they just went.
Any concerns with that date?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
No, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Any reason why I should not rescind the non-dissemination order at this time?
You're right. I think that given the history of this case, it would be best if that remained in place through sentencing, so we have time to make sure there's the ability to completely answer questions. That would be the state's preference and recommendation.
We'd have no objection for the order to remain in place through sentencing.
All right, I will, at this point, the idea to keep it until sentencing, which time it would be withdrawn in order to give the parties the space and time to prepare to meet what I'm sure will be the deluge of media requests. That's at least my preliminary decision at this point. We can always revisit if it seems to be, for some reason, I should. That said. Obviously, I don't think the defendant, a bond was ever set for the defendant. Were it would be revoked. The prior order allowing him to come in civilian clothes is revoked, given his plea and no longer the presumption of innocence. And in fact, now the actual conviction for the crimes.
See you in Orange next time.
He will continue to be held at the jail pending sentencing. Is there anything else today?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
I assume that the trial date will be vacated
The trial
and those 4 jurors will be released.
The trial will be vacated, and I'm sure that the jury commissioner will get word to those that receive their summons that they won't be required to attend. So that said, again, if you would all please wait for the parties and the victims' families and others to leave the courtroom before you do, I would appreciate it. And with that, we're adjourned.
Yeah, it makes sense. The whole they explained it all pretty well. So hang on, let me get that down.
Damn
Wow.
Bill Thompson.
What?
His Cliff Notes version of the facts, what they had against him.
Yeah, they added a tiny bit more in. That was it. But no planning document type thing. None of that. And they never said who the target was in that house. All I heard them say was they didn't think he intended to kill all of them. But that's what happened. But they didn't come out and say Maddie was the target. But I think a lot of us have
Yeah,
felt.
he went to her room, you know.
Well, I know that's what I'm saying. A lot of us, and you and I especially, have always thought she was the target. Makes sense. That's where he went first. They didn't elaborate on how he knew the house, how he knew those victims, where he honed in on them at. None of that came out yet. Will more of that come out? I don't know. You'd think if he had more of that in the documents, that would have been talked about just now. Like he saw this person and tried to make contact. I don't know if all that's there or not. I mean, what they have obviously is something, or the guy wouldn't be sitting there taking a plea deal.
Here's the way I see it. If he was trying to destroy what was on his computers in his search histories and all of that, and he had all those hard drives like yanked and stuff, and like flash drives or whatever, he wrote something down. You know what I mean? Like he planned it, typed it out, wrote
Oh,
it
I
in a
think so.
journal, something.
There's
You know?
something out there. There's more. We just don't know what all it is
And
yet.
all that stuff that they got out of his parents' house. You know? Yeah.
Exactly. There's a lot there now.
And what's on that fire stick?
So when they start unsealing this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
will we start to see that stuff? Yes, we should. If it's in those documents and it's in those reports that are there and it's all becomes available, we're going to be able to see all that. We're going to be able to see so much more than we saw all of 3 years and what we found out again today. The preliminary stuff. Some things, because the July 9th, that phone began connecting to cell towers by that home. He
Yeah.
got there in June.
Yeah.
It was so quickly. We had a feeling it. Well, obviously, you had to hone in pretty quickly because you
Yeah.
got there in June.
He went there on a mission.
Right. And the crimes happened in November. But so by July 9th, he's already stalking that house.
He got invited to that pool party, and he probably followed some people back to that side of town or
Wasn't the
whatever.
pool party the same day?
It was. That's what I'm saying. That night of the pool party is the first time that they see his phone over there by the house. That's the night of July 9th.
These criminal cases, things keep popping off on June 9th and July 9th, my birthday and my daughter's birthday. I'm like, really? Wow. Every time I turn around. And so yeah, did they go to the party that day, right? Did he see one of them there and thought, did he follow her home? I mean, geez.
Could have been somebody, still in that neighborhood,
Yeah. Yeah. And from July until November 7th, he was doing his late nights. So if they don't have him doing late night drive-bys after the 7th, what was he doing between the 7th and the 13th? Was he there but not there? Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense. Did he park and walk up, and just turn the phone off?
Well, he started doing countermeasures before the murders, right before. Remember, what was it, like November 10th? He stopped, paying for things with his card, and he was
Yes.
only doing cash. So he
Cash
was doing
only.
countermeasures by that point. So he probably was still going by. He just was turning his phone off.
Oh yeah, most definitely. There's a lot of things about what these people may or may not do, serial killer types, killers in general, that a lot of them do and don't do. Um, uh, yeah, she said Dr. Ricardo thinks he definitely wrote things down. A lot of them do. That's the thing. A lot of them do, and they don't think they'll ever get caught. So no one's ever going to see this, right? So he He may have had documents of what was on page 118. Bill didn't tell me yet. I'm
Yep.
super disappointed to not know what was on page 118 and what the heck was with the picture you took that you left the item behind. Those things,
Oh,
would
you
they,
didn't see my comment
uh, where in the,
earlier in your last show. You asked that, and I wrote a comment.
oh no, sometimes my comments on the restream don't catch up. I don't look at the phone and see you guys like in real time. I miss them. So what was it?
Oh,
Was it
I
about that?
think the photo that they took, because it was something that they couldn't take, it was the iPad. Because remember how they said
Oh
they
yeah,
saw the iPad, but they couldn't take it because it was in a common room.
it was in the common area.
Right. And they
Mhm.
found the iPad receipt or whatever and
Yeah,
everything, and they took a photo of the
that would make
iPad.
sense.
Hmm.
Definitely makes sense to do that. Um, that was hard. Period. Hard to hear all of it. Hard to think about the victims during that time. And Joe, I guess you didn't realize Xana was awake. Yeah, we've always known Xana was awake in that house, allegedly because she got a DoorDash delivery, right? And we knew it was around 4 a.m. ish. We knew that 4:12, her phone showed that she was on TikTok actively. So that put her awake at 4 a.m. to receive the order. That put her awake at 4:12 to be on TikTok.
Hmm.
In the meantime, he's sneaking into the house and already up those stairs. Yeah, and it's silent up there. The only noise, I think, was when Kaylee became alerted. No matter where she was sleeping, she became alerted. She fought back. There was some noise. There was a dog bark, and that's what Dylan was hearing. That initial in the PCA thought she heard what Kaylee was playing with the dog. We all, was that what she was hearing the whole time? Was whatever was happening between him and Kaylee. And when he came down those stairs, my gut has always told me that's where he ran into Xana. That was not supposed to happen in his mind. I don't even know if Kaylee was supposed to happen. Xana definitely wasn't supposed to happen. But there she was, face to face with this madman who just did what he did upstairs. Yes, she didn't stand a chance. It's so sad.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to wait for his book,
I know
and you'll
it's
get more details about what
well
he
then.
actually did. But I
Well,
swear,
go ahead. Oh,
don't
did we?
drop this mess about, oh, he was say, yeah, you need help,
Uh,
professional help, you know, or you need a
I'm
caretaker or
telling
something
you
because
right
you
now that
clearly can't be on your own, you know? Like,
exactly.
the man
No,
said,
if
I
there are
did
people
it
out there, yeah, yep, and he was not coerced. The judge made that
multiple
fucking clear.
times.
Exactly. You tell me right now, I'm the one, it's a wonder. And he knew what social media was already thinking. Because yesterday, or when Steve Gonzalez came out and encouraged people to reach out to the judge, a YouTuber went live and did just that. The entire community. And now security's been notified. The judge has not even opened those stupid little emails and messages. So, yeah, those people don't even need to come near me because you don't have a
Yeah.
brain that God gave a freaking turnip.
Nope. Mm-mm.
As my mama always said, you ain't got the brain God gave a damn turnip.
Nope.
And you're like,
Not
do,
at
do
all.
turnips have brains? But okay, my mom would say stupid shit to me, and I'd be questioning in my head, what is the hell is she talking about? But I get it when I grow up,
Firefly,
right?
they're all still questioning. The same people
Oh
who
yeah,
they are all still doing it, you know?
yes,
So now I would like to see, you know, this creator and that creator and this one and whatever. I'd like to see what they're saying now after this hearing.
yeah.
Because if you still don't believe that this man did it after he literally, the judge is like, did you do this? And,
He was
by
almost
stabbing, blah,
proud
blah,
of it.
blah. Yes. Did you do this? Yes. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
it
Like,
was that hardcore.
yeah,
Yes,
yes, and
just like
he asked him, I guess, the same charges like more than once,
yeah, he
you know?
did. He gave him
So,
multiple times to back out of that deal.
and every opportunity, did anybody, coerce you? Are you on this? And da 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 da. And whatever, have you been
Hmm.
offered something else? Whatever. You know what I mean? Like, do you understand? Of course he understands. The guy has a master's in what? Criminology?
Yep,
Criminal justice? Whatever,
criminology
I
and
forgot.
both.
Yeah, and psychology, right?
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with his intellect
Nope.
at all. they'll say he's coerced. I tell you, I'm just going to have to throw up fingers like in a cross and back away from anybody who says that
Exactly.
because no, mm-mm.
No.
There is
It,
something so
go
wrong
away,
with you
demon.
if you still. Yeah, exactly.
And and hey, it's not my fault y'all went so hard after this guy's innocence.
And
You
now you
can't
look
back off the
stupid.
train, right? You can't jump off that train once you went down that hardcore. It's one thing to rally for someone's innocence if you truly believe it, but to go as far as they did here, and as far as they've done in certain other cases,
Because
it's
here's
insane.
the thing, too. I don't have a problem with, obviously starting out, thinking that somebody's innocent or whatever. Like I said, me personally, I had a feeling all along from the beginning, and I still listened and looked at the evidence and all this and waited and all that. But for these people who are like, no, he looks too clean cut. No, he's in school for his PhD. Or some fools actually said, oh, he has his PhD. No, he didn't.
No,
He
he
was
did
in his first semester of his
first.
first year
Yes,
of
ma'am.
a PhD program. He didn't even make it through the first semester. He didn't even make it halfway through the first semester.
I
You
love
know?
I love a good dolphin rant because it's
You
never.
know? That's I'm like, let's let's
No.
let's talk about the facts, people,
Hey, w-
And I'm serious. And it's like,
we need to
okay.
evaluate facts, right? I mean, I don't, and if you, and the ones that are so hard, if they built their channel based on this, and now that community's all like, what
Yeah.
do we do now? Well, can you even trust those people going forward? And as of recently, there were still people coming into my chat who are, I consider, good community members, but started asking certain questions. And I'm like, well, that's weird. Where's that coming from? But then I go and see, oh,
Mhm.
that's where that came from, and I see them in the chat. I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
that. So if you feel your way, but don't go get yourself all confused and don't know who to believe at that point, right? Because
Yeah.
we're reading out of damn documents over here. That's so if we're dead ass wrong, we're dead ass wrong, but we're reading out of documents.
Yeah, and to be honest, all of us when we were digging into this in the very beginning, we all weren't on the same page because, some of us, who aren't here right this second on the panel, we're like, no, reserve the right to, say, no, I don't think he did it, right? But even other people who were looking into this with us said, oh, when you got around to the Amazon, evidence,
Yeah,
right? That he
yeah,
actually bought the knife, bought the sheath, and a sharpener.
yeah,
It's like, oh, okay. But no, these pro burger nuts, I'm just going to go ahead and call them pro burger nuts,
yeah, yeah,
said, oh, he went hiking. Oh, because Ann said, that could have been an order for camping and hiking, or whatever. Or that could have been anybody in the house, what, his parents are like in their 60s or 70s or whatever. Yeah, they're going out into the mountains with, 7-inch knives, military knives, and a sharpener, you know?
yeah.
Oh, and the balaclava. They forgot to mention that,
Oh God,
and
yeah.
everything.
All the
Just,
so many more details, right? And there were people that because guys, when we tell you in Dolphin, we gave it a fair shot. Let's go look at this other stuff being presented to us, and we did the
mm-hmm,
Kopaka of it
mm-hmm.
all. Boy, we went down that rabbit hole
Yep,
deep and hard.
yep.
We didn't discount it and say, well, no, there's no way Koberger did it. We're like, okay, we'll bite, we'll look, and
And
we did
even
it.
with that, see, and that's the thing that, like, people, uh, who were like, with the blinders on and everything got caught up with. It's like, yeah, Kopaka, weird situation. The roommates, Dylan and Bethany, weird situation. Weirdness here, weirdness there. Maybe that didn't have anything to do with the murders. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
you can have weirdness over here and weirdness over there, and these people not actually be involved in this. That's what I. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
um, hang on, Rachel. I was just looking the court. Let me check something. She was asking if I saw any feeds up with
Oh, yeah, yeah,
like
I
press
saw that.
conferences and things. But I
Yeah, he
haven't looked. I've been sitting here in my mouth.
creeped out
Let's see.
women. Yeah. See, that's the other thing that they didn't say, because they
Mm-hmm.
could have brought that up. All these reports about, female students had issues with him, and it was so bad that, his professor that he worked for, and then the department head, and then like the dean of the school, all had to talk to him multiple times and have meetings with him multiple times, and he still couldn't get it together, you know?
Yeah.
There's and
Oops.
oh, the thing with the coworker, his office mate, the Korean girl,
Yeah.
you know, that like his the cameras, she had him install
Install
cameras
the
in
cameras.
the apartment, and then there
Mm-hmm.
was all that weirdness, you
And that
know.
he may have went in and broke in and stole her
Yeah,
things.
he's
Um,
sharing an office, and one minute, the
there's a
keys
lot more. Yeah.
gone,
And for
and
him, there
then
there was a lot, and
hmm
even the build up to even
there's a
prior to
ton of
that.
stuff.
Yeah, because we've heard all the things too, Rachel, about the creepiness and how the women felt about him, the way that he was perceived. We've heard as many friends as it would, the few friends I should
hmm
say that came out and spoke in the very beginning up till
hmm
now. We've reviewed a ton of stuff, and
hmm
yeah, we just in the end we were like, oh, we went down all these different avenues that were presented, and they all come up empty-handed. There's no evidence on any of this, no receipts anywhere. Um, and all of it, and we concluded, yeah, and then the evidence started to trickle out. We've in far as the documents go, and we could see a little more, and it was, yeah, we just based it off that, right?
Yeah, I
And
mean,
logical common sense.
yeah, dude's out at that time of night, turns his
Hmm.
phone off, right? For the couple of hours gap that he would have needed to do what he did. And then it comes on directly south of the house.
2:54 it goes off, and it comes back on at 4:48. And
You
like they
know?
said, he drove the back way, because
Mhm.
once you left Moscow right there at the edge, there's no more cameras. We scoured. I
Yep.
think there was one at the Mundy's automotive shop is right on the edge there, and that one that was mentioned in an early document, and it was never mentioned again.
Mhm.
Um, but there's no cameras out that way. Now,
Yeah.
even to creep back through the back road, skip going through Lewiston to get back over to, there was a whole, we went and mapped it. Which
Mhm.
route would I have taken if I was this guy and I didn't want to be seen? Oh, look, there's a convenient one right there.
Right. And then also remember with that, he turned it back on
Uh,
like what, 20, almost 30 minutes after the murders, directly south of the house, right?
yep,
And what does he do? He turns on a VPN and then he logs into some burner, email
account,
account that he
right
had
there, yeah.
while he's in his car on
That
the
was in
side
one of
of
the
the
latest
road
talks.
at almost 5 in the morning. Who
Isn't that
does that?
crazy? And what
Why
was you?
would you do that?
And why would you do it
You
exactly?
know?
What were you doing on your iPad? Mr. This remember that one account that came up for a while there, uh, pretending to be Papa Rogers from Brian's iPad or whatever.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
mhm.
stupid,
Yeah.
and they would always come into chats and say it from Brian's iPad. So they look like they have a press conference being set up, guys. So we do have the feed up. Thanks
Oh,
for the
cool.
heads up, Rach. Um, so we have that feed brought up for when that happens, so we can keep an eye on that. Um,
Yeah, but I was like, these are just, oh, geez, they
oh
stopped on that.
goodness. Jesus Christ. Yes. Now I'm gonna see that big tall guy stand up. Yes.
Mm-mm.
Aye, Captain. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All these people, like, conveniently just ignored all of those things, you
Mhm.
know?
Rachel, that was the first thing I noticed when I went to the maps, but God, way back when the PCA came out or whatever. It was the first thing I noticed, and the girlfriend that I was looking at it with was a criminology student at the time in Virginia. And I said, "Holy shit!" She's like, "You thinking what I'm thinking?" I'm like, "Damn, it could be anywhere." She said, "Absolutely." And then Danger, friend of ours, a close friend of ours here,
Mm-hmm.
he went down those roads for me, and he found all kinds of the all the culverts, weird places you wouldn't even think of. And I'm like, holy shit, dude, how did you find this? But he's a great researcher, so
Mm-hmm.
there's that. But yes, there's so many places other than the Snake River and burying it in Johnson Bar or taking it to Lolo that he could have put that thing up. So many places. I know I used to talk with Firefly about that, and we would theorize, did he have a predetermined location, a pre-dug hole even, to stuff
Mhm.
that murder kit down in? Because
Mhm.
if he went in there with nothing about the coveralls was mentioned, Dolphin, did you notice that? I just thought of that.
Oh yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
thinking, what if he had his
That
kill
was in
suit
my
on,
that was in
right?
my head.
The speculation
Oh,
was he had a kill
oh,
suit on
wait,
and
wait, wait. Stop before I
all that.
forget this. Sorry.
No, go
You just reminded me, and I wanted to tell you earlier on the other show, but I forgot. What you just said about the kill suit, right?
ahead.
So Firefly and I were talking last night, and she said something that was like so good. I was like, ah, damn. That's good. Remember how they said in Xana's room, that they think he sat down on the
Sat
chair,
down.
the white fuzzy
Yes.
chair, right?
Yeah.
And so, we were like, oh, yeah, he probably changed out of the bloody suit,
Right there.
and rolled it up or whatever. Firefly said he probably rolled the knife up in that, and maybe that's what Dylan saw, right? I said, yeah, and before he left Xana's room, maybe he had
Oh,
the little
shit.
cover all booties on his feet,
Yes. We
So
suspected, right?
so get this. Wait. So when he's coming out of Xana's room, he's got all the dirty stuff, bloody stuff bundled up and everything, right?
Yep.
So this is how no DNA gets in his car. But get this. She said, and yeah, and he walked past Dylan, right? Maybe that's why he didn't kill Dylan because he was clean and he would have gotten dirty
Damn,
again. And I
Firefly.
said, damn.
Firefly. Jesus, girl, you just
Yes.
figured it out. She's
Mhm.
like, wait a minute, y'all. Y'all know I've been thinking about this shit for a long time. That's
Mhm.
actually really good
So
because
yeah,
that
time.
makes sense,
Because
right?
he probably had a certain, amount of time in
And the
his
knife's
head
all
that
wrapped
he
up,
wanted
right?
to
So,
spend
yeah.
in the house, right? And yeah, and if he's all clean and he goes by Dylan, even if he saw her, because one, he would have been exhausted. Two,
Mm-hmm.
he's on a
Yep.
time, constraint, and three, he's clean.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have another set of clothes to change, or
Right.
another quick way to clean up. So that's
Well,
probably why Dylan's alive.
and that makes so much sense
Mhm.
because we saw in the document that there was appeared to be it appeared that the perpetrator sat down in that chair
Mhm.
and we're all like, sat down
Mhm.
in we get being tired, but sat down in Xana's room. That was like,
Mhm.
what? That makes sense to take off your coveralls right
Yeah,
there.
I figured he
And
changed
if
there when they
yeah,
said
and
that.
if you
Mhm.
wrap the knife up in the coveralls and you're
Because he
walking
didn't have a
past
sheath
Dylan,
anymore,
right?
so
Right?
covered up the
So
knife.
now I'm
Mhm.
clean. My knife is all bundled up in this mess of bloody clothes. Yeah, I'm getting out. I'm out. Peace out.
Mhm.
And wow.
Yep, and he could
I
have had
wonder.
a garbage bag in the trunk or whatever and just dumped that
Yeah.
roll in the garbage bag.
Yeah. There was something.
No anything gets in the car, you
And he
know?
would have had his clothes on under the coveralls.
Mhm.
And we also looked up, there's clothing you can purchase that look like a regular shirt that's
Mhm.
cut resistant, like for real, sold to like high powered people for safety reasons.
Yep.
Like, these rich people that may get robbed or kidnapped. They have cut proof clothing on. It's
Mhm.
insane what was available
Yep.
if you go,
Gloves
if
and
you know
all.
where to look, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. They if you know where to look, it's and don't think he didn't know where to look. If I thought
Exactly.
to go look and say, well, let me Google this.
Mhm.
I mean, come on, I can't be smarter. Well, I can be, but I shouldn't be smarter than a criminology student. Let's see. Um, I don't think they have the press conference up yet. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and his OCD just, he went into overdrive cleaning the car, I guess, just
Hmm.
thinking, well, what if,
Hmm.
something got in the car?
Well, he did.
Mm-hmm.
And like they said, writing that paper, what he chose to write the paper on to start with is
Mm-hmm.
at these crime scenes. He knew to do that car inside. Like, he probably took it and had it. I wonder if he took it and had it detailed and cleaned it himself, or just cleaned it himself because he's so OCD. He's in control, right? Don't relinquish that
Mm-hmm.
control to somebody else. So if I do it my way, it's like my house. I need to be the one to clean it because then I
Mm-hmm.
know it's clean. So it's just the way it is. But yeah, I could see him out there. And remember, the sister reportedly, allegedly, was concerned about his meticulous car cleaning, and even confronted the dad
Right.
about, hey, could it possibly be my brother that did this? There's just so much that we don't know yet. And Bill Thompson even turned toward Brian Koberger's family when he said he got the knife sheath delivered to his parents' home. You know that he like turned in motion toward where they were, in the area they would have been sitting in. I was like, oh, that's not nice.
The Ada County Courthouse in
fault.
Boise, Idaho. And this is where
That's
Brian
talking.
Koberger, in spectacular fashion, just entered pleas of guilty to the murders of Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle. I was sitting right there with a bird's eye view of Brian
Guys, I'm gonna let her
Koberger
talk
as
a
he
minute while I
entered
run to the
those guilty
restroom, okay?
pleas.
Be right
He
back.
sat
I'm gonna take advantage
stoically
of it.
looking straight at Prosecutor Bill Thompson as he read the statement of facts in this case. And I think we can unpack a little bit of why possibly now the prosecution agreed to this plea deal. I'm taking some kind of nuggets from what he read and piecing together why possibly he agreed to this. I want to let you know that we were set up over here possibly for a press conference. That non-dissemination order, the gag order in this case, remains in place. That means the state and the defense, the attorneys on both sides, and the law enforcement officers involved in this case cannot distribute any information. They can't make any public statements until after sentencing. The families, however, are not covered by that order. So they may be coming out and may choose to make a statement. They may not. As you know, they've been very particular about who they speak to. Some of them have documentary deals right now and aren't really making a lot of statements. However, if we do see them come out and possibly decide to say something, we will break down and get over there. I want to bring our guests in very quickly, though, to talk about this and unpack this a little bit. Mark Weaver is a special prosecutor in Ohio, and he has prosecuted death penalty cases. Also, Colin Schmidt is a retired FBI agent. I'll start with you, Mark. Your thoughts on what we heard today and Brian Koberger approaching the defense or approaching the state and saying, I want to plead guilty, please take the death penalty off the table, and the state agreeing to it.
Yeah, you and I on the air, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, I predicted this is likely to happen. We heard more of the evidence today. It's a circumstantial case, but a very strong circumstantial case. He could see this was coming. The victims now know a little bit more about what happened. It would have been better if he had said it from his own mouth. Perhaps he'll say that at sentencing. They need that closure. But there were people on the internet who said he didn't do it. Well, most of us knew he did, and now we know for sure he did.
Mm-hmm.
What I thought was interesting were some of the things that Bill Thompson said, and I'll let you go right after we talk about this. But he said we had evidence that his phone was connecting to that tower that covered the King Road neighborhood and the residents, but we didn't have evidence connecting him directly to the 1122 King Road house and the victims inside. And I hear things like that, and it makes me think, if they were wondering on the prosecution side, could this potentially create a little bit of doubt in the minds of some jurors, even though we have the DNA on the knife sheath, even though that is really good circumstantial evidence, we still don't have that connection to the people inside the King Road house and the house specifically. We just have him in the general vicinity, and it's a densely populated area. Could that be one of the reasons why they agreed to this?
Yeah, that's a fair theory. Prosecutors would like to get a conviction and get closure. One juror during the guilt phase is enough to hang the trial and send it back to square one.
Sure is.
And one juror at the penalty phase is enough to guarantee that it's going to be life in prison.
Yep.
And one juror might be that person hung up on, well, you didn't connect every dot all the way back to him. And so prosecutors would prefer to get some closure. I think that's why. We now know that perhaps they were worried that one or two jurors, not a full jury, would think that that's reasonable doubt, but one or two would be enough to hang the case.
Or it might be enough to get a conviction and get the same result, possibly life without parole and not a death sentence. So you might go through the pain of a trial and the expense of a trial and get the same result. And maybe that was part of the calculus here. We'll find out hopefully soon. Mark Weaver, I know you have to hop off of here. Thank you so much for joining me. We are taking your questions, so please drop them in our YouTube chat, and Colin and I will get to as many of them as we can. So, Colin, I want to get your thoughts on what we heard today. Bryan Kohberger, after all of this time, asserting his innocence, suddenly changing his plea. This could have been going on in the background for a long time. He could have been discussing this with his lawyers for a long time. You know, they could have said to him, Bryan, we're going to try this. We're going to try that. We're going to ask them to strike the death penalty. The cards are stacked against you, but this is what we're going to do. This is the next motion we're filing. And when everything failed, when all of their motions were denied, maybe he just came to the realization, and they had this meeting with him, and they said, you know what, we're at the end of the road, and this is it.
Well, I think they had their own calculus in terms of how much they could put reasonable doubt in front of a jury. Your other guess was spot on. It can be a tall case or a big case to prove when you have all circumstantial evidence, and then for them to have to put on cell phone for forensics, it can be completely very, very complicated for a jury to understand, and to be able to have to link those dots as far as a cell phone to the house. So I think this was the best of the worst decisions to make, because they would have also had to put the families through a trial, a very long trial. But I know there are some families that are frustrated because they did want him to get the death penalty.
And the death penalty, getting it is not a given. It really isn't. You can seek it. It doesn't mean that you're going to get it if there is a conviction. We've seen plenty of cases where the death penalty was sought by prosecutors, and it seemed like it might be a given, or this is a death penalty case, and then the jurors went the other way, and it only takes one juror to say, I can't vote for death, and then you get life without parole. Let's talk a little bit more about that cell phone evidence that you just discussed. There were 23 times that the FBI cast agent, the cast analysis, the agent Nick Balance was going to testify 23 occasions between July and a week before the murders, that they say that Bryan Kohberger's phone was connecting to the cell tower that covered King Road. However, there were a lot of houses there, and I've been there. There are a lot of houses there. It's on Greek Row. So they might have not have been able to show that he was, quote unquote, casing or stalking or surveilling the house. And as you just mentioned, it can get very complicated and complex. And on the defense side, they had their own expert. They had their own cell phone expert who typically testifies for prosecutors, Cy Ray. He testifies all over the country for prosecutors. So that could have been something that turned out to be very contentious at trial had this gone forward.
Yeah, and it would have been, frankly, a nightmare for the FBI witness, because he would have been on the stand for a very, very, very long time. And so every little thing he would say or testify to, the defense is going to pick apart and turn around, and then they have a expert waiting there to dispute every little finding he may have had. However, 22 instances of him of Kohberger being there, that's overwhelming circumstantial evidence. But the challenge is, was the FBI special agent going to be able to introduce and make sure the jury understood how he found that information and how it was connected to the target?
And that's the question. I mean, because that information can be very complicated and complex. What was your take and your reaction to the way Bryan Kohberger, during that first question from the judge, just stood up and said yes? What was your reaction to that?
Well, I think this is somebody with deep, deep mental health issues, not that was a defense, and somebody who's likely a psychopath. And I mean, I'm not a mental health expert or a psychologist or psychiatrist, but somebody that it appears that he just doesn't have remorse, and he's more of a robot. And frankly, I think this was a transactional decision for him, that it was either the death penalty or risking the death penalty or life in prison. So my heart goes out to the victims. This was a senseless, horrible, horrible crime, and they got the right guy.
And after all of this time, it's interesting you say that they got the right guy, Colin. After all of this time, he's finally admitted it. it appeared they had just a mountain of evidence against him. They had the K-bar knife and sheath purchase that he made on Amazon in March of 2022 before he moved to Idaho. He moves to Idaho in late June to pursue his PhD. And then in July, he starts kind of, it sounds like, hanging out in that general vicinity around Greek Row, where the King Road home was located. So it sounds like they think he had a plan. They did point out, though, that they don't know if he went in there intending to kill all 4 victims. And that's kind of been something that I've thought in covering this case, that possibly he went in there to target one person and that things spiraled out of control. So I found it interesting that the prosecutor brought that up, that they don't know if all 4 victims were part of his so-called plan. But they also said that he kind of studied this and he knew how to keep from contaminating a crime scene as well. What were your thoughts on those 2 items?
Well, the first point that I'd like to make is just the level of violence that he did to these in this crime scene is indicative of not only planning, but did he have a period or several events that led to this? And frankly, is there other victims out there? Are there other people he may have done?
That's what I'm wondering too.
And so that'll definitely be part of the post investigation, is if he will cooperate to see if he is truly a serial killer and there's something in some other victims out there that they're not aware of. And then the fact that, like you said, he was operating in a method that he was trying to hide his tracks and trying to to throw off the scent, so to speak. But per usual, the phones always get you, and he had the phone with him, and I think that's really was the what broke the case. And then, of course, obviously the DNA that was on the sheath of the K-bar knife.
Case wide open. If they hadn't had that, Colin, they wouldn't have been able to identify a perpetrator in this case, or else it may have taken a lot longer. But that was really the direct link to Bryan Kohberger. That's how they identified him as the suspect in this case. I mean, there was no other forensic evidence linking him to the case. They said they went into his apartment, they went into his office. They said Spartan would be kind of a kind description of both of those locations. There was nothing of evidentiary value there. And when they seized his car, they took...
You know what would be crazy, Dolphin? If Pennsylvania came out and charged him with Dana Smithers.
Yeah, I want to know what they found out or what they're doing about that case. You know,
remember the grand jury thing that popped off in Pennsylvania that his parents
talked to his parents.
Yeah, you don't need your parents to testify if it's not pertaining to you. Questions about you.
But I was going to say, didn't they say that they said that, you know, he was doing something else? But she disappeared late at night, though, you know?
She did.
I'm like, wait a minute. How do they know what he was doing?
Yeah, and we don't really know what they testified to at that grand jury, what they were really there for. They kind of just, they made all that go away real quick, like. And yeah, so we don't know what the outcome was of that. Let me refresh this and let me hit this. Hang on.
Because I'm trying to remember. Was it like the next weekend, the weekend after she graduated? She disappeared, I think, on the 28th of May, and his graduation was like the 21st. Was it like a Saturday?
Yeah,
or
because
something?
Dana was a little bit older than Bryan Kohberger. And hers,
what, 10 years or something like that?
Yeah, her disappearance was May. I can't remember the exact date now. But you know, and then there's the rumor in the Facebook group that they worked together at the pizza place, and we know he did work at a pizza place at the Strasburg Mall. And then
also
they
like the same little extracurricular activities with pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, they like the same pharmaceuticals, and so those are the only common denominators there, right? But we don't know what happened to Dana. Dana was last seen walking out of her friend's front door, captured on ring cam, walks out to the edge of the yard and into the darkness, and
looking like she was looking for somebody,
like she was going out there to meet somebody, right? And she was found a year later,
almost a year. Yep.
Yeah. They're in not far from Bryan Kohberger's home.
Right.
So and then there was a grand jury impaneled over there at one point, and this was after his arrest in Idaho. And yeah, his parents had to go before that grand jury and testify.
And
Now,
think about this, where he lives and
uh-huh.
Stroudsburg are like, two little neighboring small towns, just
Exactly.
like Pullman and Moscow.
Uh-huh. Exactly. And they wouldn't have pulled his parents in just to question about where their son was that night. Right? They can go to their house to do. The cops will come to their house and investigate that and say, can you verify your son's whereabouts on the night of such and such? You don't got to go before a grand jury to testify to that unless they're really looking at you hard. Right? So there was no reason for them to go to a grand jury to be questioned for like an alibi purpose unless he was being investigated. So I don't know.
They needed to pull his old phone records.
I know.
Because remember, he had a different phone number then.
And they have that number.
Mm-hmm.
And they have all of his email accounts. There's no telling what they may, end up coming. If this was his first time, it's not the first time he thought about it. It can't be. I would be highly surprised if he hadn't considered it before. And did he do practice runs before? Was Dana a practice run? And she
Wow.
was found in the woods. So Dana wasn't like killed in a home and left in a home to be found like the Idaho victims. It was a totally different thing. So whoever took Dana took her or picked her up and then harmed her and then took her and dumped her where she was found, which was just off the highway in a wooded area.
Yeah, don't forget he put a lot of miles on his car back
Yeah, he
then
did.
too.
Yes, he did.
For somebody who didn't really need to drive that much.
Right. And somebody who never left home. And I get it. There's a lot of adult kids that still live at home, but I don't think they're not that dependent on us. Like I live with mine. This is his house, but we're not dependent upon each other. You're a grown man. In his situation, it wasn't like that. I think he was highly dependent upon his mother, especially. And they're just like people just like this guy said he appeared to be like transactional, right? That was a good way to describe him.
Very good.
Yeah, you're right. And Jeanette is like you and I notice that get up. Yes. We heard that same tone at the arraignment.
Smithers,
Miss Shorty, Dana Smithers. I don't know if her Facebook group is still up or not. I think it is, but it's not very active. Dana's case is a case I followed before I knew who Brian Koberger was. That's why it really surprised me when I started reading things in the Facebook group. And I was like, and then this grand jury thing popped up. I was like, oh my gosh, really? Could he be tied to that case? There was a whole Dateline or 48, somebody did a thing on Dana's story. That's where I originally saw it. And I'll never forget watching the video of her walk out her friend's front door. It's just crazy. And I think they could possibly be connected in some way. I think they ruled him out as having anything to do with the couple from Oregon, the married couple that were attacked in their home in the middle of the night with a knife. Yeah. The husband was killed, and the wife, Jamie, she survived. People wondered if he was a part of that, but he wasn't. In fact, I've seen interviews with her since her husband passed. But it's been a while. So I don't know what they're saying here, guys.
Or within the next week, there's one.
I still haven't seen anywhere with Stefan Stern's hearings. I don't know what the heck's going on with that guy. I'm still looking around for information. If you guys see something, let me know. I know, really weird.
So there are a lot of people who are still going to be making documentaries and films. There are a lot of them that will come out still after this wave. So I'm sure that a lot of people have reached out to him, his lawyers, and his family already to try to write books, documentaries, you name it. Let's talk now about a question from Teresa Phillips. And Colin, I know you're not an attorney, but you were an FBI agent and you've dealt with plenty of prosecutors and defense attorneys in your time. And I can kind of answer this too, but how was it okay ethically for Ann Taylor to accuse 4 innocent people of the murder when she knew that BK was guilty? And this goes to the alternate suspect information that she submitted to the court. She submitted 4 alternate suspects to the court that she wanted to be allowed to present at trial. So, Colin, your thoughts on that?
Well, I make 2 points. One, addressing the last point. Hopefully, there's a son of Sam law in Idaho, or the prosecution has made that part of the agreement that he can't profit off of this. So, if there is any documentaries or anything, any of that money that is made goes to the victim families. And then, secondly, in terms of his defense putting on alternative people, it is not an ethical issue. His defense attorney has a duty to put a reasonable defense on. Now, obviously, if
law firm of James, Vernon and Weeks,
accusing people who
Coeur
didn't
d'Alene,
do
Idaho.
it or defaming people, well, then there's
I'm a victims' rights attorney.
The defense is going to have to deal
For the
with.
past 2 years,
She
I've had
to
the
do
privilege
Her job is to put a defense on for her client.
for Karen Laramie and Scott Laramie, the loving mother and stepfather
Here we go,
of
guys.
Maddie Mogan. I will be reading a statement of gratitude today from the Laramies.
It's Maddie's mom.
962 days ago, we lost our Maddie, our kind, loving, vivacious, and caring daughter full of purpose and promise. We are grateful for the gift of her life, and we have grieved the loss of that life during each of these 962 days. We love you, Maddie, and we miss you. We are grateful for the gift of the young, vivacious, promising lives of Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan. And we deeply, deeply mourn their senseless loss. We remain in solidarity with their families and friends, and we continue to shower them with our prayers and support. We are grateful for their prayers, love, and support that they have given us. They have helped us and sustained us during our darkest times. We are grateful to the prosecutor, Bill Thompson, and his dedicated and caring team, including victim coordinators, Kim and Stacy, who have helped to guide us through the sometimes confusing and disorienting legal process. Thank you for all your dedicated, diligent, and tireless commitment to justice and the successful outcome reached today. We support the plea agreement 100%. While we know there are some who do not support it, we ask that they respect our belief that this is the best outcome possible for the victims, their families, and the state of Idaho. We extend our deep gratitude to the many law enforcement officers and staff who worked tirelessly to obtain the critical evidence that brought justice today, including the Moscow Police Department, the FBI, the Idaho State Patrol, and the Lake County Sheriff's Department. We are deeply grateful to Judge Hippler and Judge John Judge before him. We thank you for your diligence, thoughtfulness, and judicial guidance. We appreciate the difficult work you have done to balance the rights of all involved and to uphold the rule of law. You have had our prayers and support throughout this case. We send our love and gratitude to the many family and friends who have supported us, cared for us, and helped us to heal our open emotional wounds. To the good people of North Idaho, who have showered us with kindness and support, we thank you. We also mourn today with you the recent tragic and senseless loss of 2 brave North Idaho firefighters. We extend our prayers and support to their families. You are not alone. We understand your pain. For all parents who have endured the loss of a child, we know recovery is a long and at times an almost unbearable journey. But you are not alone. And there is hope and there is healing. We thank those in the press who have respected our privacy and the grieving process, and the privacy and grieving process of the families of Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan. To others in the press, we gently encourage you to do the same. We thank the many people across our nation and beyond who have reached out to us, prayed for us, and extended their kindness. You too have helped us on our journey to heal. We now embark on a new path. We turn from tragedy and mourning. We turn from darkness and uncertainty of the legal process to the light of the future. We have closure. We embark on a path of hope and healing. We invite all of those who have mourned with us to join us, and we wish you well. Thank you. I will now share a few words of my own. Over the past 2 years, I've been amazed and humbled by Karen and Scott's strength, endurance, and faith. They have uplifted me and so many. They founded a nonprofit to help others in the name of Maddie. They have been a beacon of hope amidst a dark and tragic time. To those young and bright attorneys out there looking for purpose and meaning in your profession, I invite you to join the effort of crime victim attorneys to bring victims justice with compassion, empathy, humility, and understanding. This case is not the end of violence. This case is not the end of lawlessness. We need your help to bring hope and healing to the innocent caught in the crossfire of life. Thank you all.
Sir, could you just say your name one more time?
Leander James, Leander, last name is James. Thank you.
Maddie looks too much like her mom.
That's nice to see that, you know, it was 50-50.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that they had started a foundation.
Yeah, she's on. She's actually her and
We've been
Ashlyn
listening
Couch's
to
mother.
a press conference
Did
by
a story
the
on it.
family of Maddie Mogan. That was their attorney. Her mother, Karen, her stepfather, Scott. You can probably see them right over here. We're going to walk a little bit as they walk, but they are walking as people follow, and they were devastated by this. Maddie Mogan was the only child of her two parents, Ben Mogan and Karen. She was mostly raised by her stepfather, Scott, and so it's just been a devastating loss for them. Maddie was a beautiful, beautiful young woman, as you know, and Brian Kohberger, as we heard today and suspected, went straight to her bedroom that morning on November 13th, 2022.
Fucking
and
monster, man.
Took her life.
Fucking monster.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope all the trolls heard me say it. I'll scream it one more
they would
fucking
like to
time.
speak or say
Fucking
anything.
monster. Oh my God.
We're standing here to see if they would like to speak or say anything more. We'll wait here for a moment, but I think they're probably getting ready to.
No,
leave
Anjanette, they had a statement
and
read.
probably
They don't
wish
want to
speak.
talk to anybody.
Karen Laramie has been very, very quiet throughout this whole process and has declined to speak throughout. So we know she's going to be appearing in the Amazon Prime documentary that's
She
coming
has
out.
spoke out a couple times
She has
there,
not wanted to
Anjanette.
grant interviews throughout any of this.
I played one
But we
recently.
will be seeing her in that program. So she's continuing to walk to her car, make her way home. We know she'll be here for the sentencing on July 23rd.
Oh, good. I'm glad they got
Well, it appears
police
actually that
around
they're
them.
going back into the courthouse at this point in time. Okay, so there you have it.
Okay, and the 22nd is a Tuesday. 3 Tuesdays from now.
The sentencing of Brian Kohberger right now, as I told you, he's in the Ada County Jail. He's been held there for some time, ever since the venue was changed to Ada County. And He will be sentenced on July 23rd. There will be no pre-sentence investigation in
Wednesday,
this case
23rd.
because he's getting 4 consecutive life sentences, life
Judge said
without parole.
20.
So that's what
Yeah,
will be
3rd
happening here.
into the 24th
We
if
will be
need
back
be.
here on July 23rd covering that for you. He is going to prison forever. For the murders of Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle.
Yep.
I want to
In
thank
the
our
words
guests
of,
today, both Mark
Ashley
Weaver and
Banfield,
Colin
he's
Schmidt.
got the
And thank
toe
you
tag
for submitting all
sentence
of your questions
coming
and
his
for
way.
watching us as always. I'm Anjanette Levy. Thanks so much for being with us. You can go back and watch our coverage on YouTube from earlier today and watch the plea hearing. We'll see you back here next time.
All right. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot more. I don't know if there's anybody else going to.
The man accused of murdering a
Jesus. I don't know if the state will come out and do a press conference now or they're going to wait, or I don't know what they're going to do. I will keep an eye on it.
Yeah, they're still set up. Let me see.
Yeah, I'm going to keep I was looking at something real quick. So I still haven't seen anything on Stearns yet either. I saw your update that what you said, Butterfly, in the chat. It was Miss Woozy. It was a beautiful statement by Maddie's mom. She's such a sweet lady, and I've seen her in a couple of interviews, so her personality, right, is just really precious. It's very sweet. Let me see. Okay. So Law and Crime just went to showing Koberger's face again. They're not showing outside of the courthouse anymore.
Oh, okay.
Okay, sorry. This thing was going in my ear. Yeah, when I took it down, that's because they had went to that screen.
Yeah, maybe that was just for that statement because since the gag order is still
oh yeah, there's the
in
gag order.
place, then
The
Bill and
prosecution
different people can't
really
come
say
out.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to say much. Well, I don't think the Gonsalves are going to get out there and say anything. So, I mean, I didn't expect them to come out and speak outside the gag order. Like, I mean, I didn't expect all that. I mean, come out, whatever. They pretty much made their statement there in court. He could have come out and did the same thing publicly. I don't know. But I wasn't
Girl,
expecting
they'll be on
him to come out.
somebody's show tonight.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Delphi attorneys, it didn't take them long. But they can still come out and talk. They just have to be particular about what they say, right? So,
No, well, he did say the families could talk.
Oh yeah, they can.
That's what I was talking about. Was the Gonsalveses?
Yeah. Well, oh yeah. Well, he might come out there and talk tonight. He might just be sitting there going, "Well, damn, maybe I should have went in." I don't know what Steve Gonsalves thinks. That guy. Hopefully, they'll stay off the internet for a minute and stay off the news for a minute and take care of themselves. I don't need to hear from them tonight. I honestly don't. I can do without it. I'd rather hear more about what when they're going to send this guy. So we got the sentencing coming up the 23rd, and the judge did say they could carry it to the 24th if need be because he blocked out the whole week already.
Right.
Preparing for trial. Now there's no trial, so might as well make good use of that time. Plus, it gives the sides to prepare. Now, Ann didn't have nothing else left. She's like, "Oh no, we're good. We can roll right now if you want, pretty much." But to give the families time to prepare their victim impact statements. And if you think about it, Kaylee has 4 siblings, right? 2 parents. Maddie has 3 parents.
Yeah.
Count her stepfather. Then Xana's got her sister, her brother, her dad, her mom, if she's going to be there. So there could be a lot of people coming up to do those impact statements, and it could take a while to move through all that. I'm sure all of the Gonsalves are ready to have their voices heard.
Yeah.
Even the younger ones that never got to really say much out of their social media posts. I'll put it that way to be nice. But yeah, focus on your kids, and hopefully they'll be okay. It was just really hard to sit there and listen to all that, knowing that we followed this case for so long and know what these young adults went through that night, right? Just being gone that quick. in a blink of an eye, someone decided to walk into their house and just wreak havoc and walk out like it was no big deal. And even today,
Yeah.
he didn't seem to have too much emotion there.
No. I mean, he doesn't have any. You know, he
No,
told people that too on his Tapatogs,
he
you
sure
know.
did. I
Hmm.
feel like a piece of
He
meat. I don't
said,
feel
yeah,
anything.
blank. He's, yeah.
I'm blank.
Hmm.
Exactly. I mean, they went deep. And people can say, well, I've heard people say, well, when I was 15, I didn't write that kind of crazy shit. Trust me, I was 15 one time too, and I was pretty rebellious,
Mm.
but I didn't write that kind of creepy shit about myself.
No,
No, no,
no,
no, no.
definitely not.
The minute I started writing things down like I feel like a piece, a piece of meat, I have no feelings. I'm going to be saying to myself, "What the hell's wrong with you?" I can show that to Mama real quick. Mama, something wrong with me. Look what you did.
Yeah,
I
I
blame
tell you,
you.
today has just been one of those days. I just, because earlier too, did you see the body cam footage, the traffic stop for Ethan that was
Oh
released
yeah.
that I
Well,
linked? That was,
that was so. Yeah, she got that, but we had seen that a
I
long
hadn't.
time ago. Oh, you've never seen that
Mm-mm.
before?
No, no,
Oh well,
no.
yeah, that's not something that was just released. I think she just went and got the old one, and because it used to be in my Discord. I
Hmm.
don't know if it's still there or not,
No,
because
I
when I
never saw
cleaned up
that.
a long time ago. But oh yeah, it's been out there. I think Firefly has seen it before too. Haven't you, Firefly? If you're still around, but it was Ethan getting pulled over when he was driving his friend's car,
Hmm.
and he didn't get in any trouble or anything. He wasn't
No.
drunk. He wasn't belligerent. He wasn't doing anything wrong. It was a pretty cool exchange. He was very polite to the officer and vice versa.
Oh
Um,
yeah, he was. I mean, it was just like, seeing him and
uh huh.
hearing him, because I
Oh yeah.
hadn't really heard
Oh.
him,
Oh yeah. Well,
or
that's
whatever.
yeah.
And
That's
he's the one that's sort of always like left to the side too, because everybody's been like the girls, the girls, the girls. They
well, not in
almost,
my eyes. Yeah.
I
I
know,
mean,
but you know what
yeah.
I'm saying. Everybody else who talks about it, it's always
Yeah.
like the girls.
Yeah.
And actually, what was it? Somebody who was doing an interview, they said accidentally said three people, and then they said, oh, four,
No,
because
that's
it's like,
bullshit.
you keep forgetting about
That's
Ethan.
bullshit. Yeah.
It
I've never
is, it
forgotten you,
is.
Ethan, and that's why I made that video of Ethan when his own words singing, "I just want you to know who I am." That
Hmm.
hits me like a ton of bricks every time I hear it because nobody
Yeah.
knew who they were, but they were being trashed all over social media, and that really freaking pissed me off, and it got to me. And that's why today
Oh, I know
got
why I
to me a
brought it up.
couple of
I'm sorry. I
times.
was
No,
like,
go
oh,
ahead.
why did I bring that up? No, but I brought it up because I just wish that with this case, that people in Idaho and people who live, in smaller, more rural areas or states or whatever would take one thing away, and try to, like, from this, and then try to like teach their kids to, be more aware. Like, I mean, it's great if you live out or whatever, and it's like, but don't raise your child in a bubble, you know?
Here's the thing, I live in a rural area,
Hmm.
and I'm the last one to raise her kid in a bubble because I want my kids to know there's a big, bad, horrible world out there, and we're not naive.
Right, because,
And yeah,
people
it's
can come
important.
to your state,
They damn sure
clearly,
can.
and come into your area. Like,
Sure.
like they're talking about the, what is it? They think that most of the serial killers are probably truckers. They're how they're, you know,
And I got the I-10
investigating
corridor.
that now.
Yeah, I got the
Hmm.
I-10 corridor running right through my hometown, one of the biggest smuggling highways in the fucking country. We got
Hmm.
multiple truckers up and down the highway all day long and twice on Sunday. I'm on the edge of one of Florida's largest state parks. We get visitors here all the time in
Yeah.
rural America.
But the thing that bothers me though too is these kids were like,
Mm,
people are like, not locking their doors,
locking the
and
doors.
Ethan in the traffic stop. These kids weren't carrying their driver's license or any kind of ID around, in that traffic stop. He didn't have his driver's license. He didn't have any kind of ID or whatever, but yet he was driving.
Yeah, I'm assuming. I guess sometimes I assume those are things that people tell their kids because that's the things
Like,
I tell
take
my
ID
kids.
with you.
Yeah, my kids know you once you get that ID, It better be in your wallet at all times, and don't forget your wallet. Now learn to carry your wallet everywhere you go. I done raised 4 of them. I can't. I don't know why I assume, because the things I teach my kids, others are teaching their kids as well. Turns out they're not. Um, the things I'm trying to teach my grandson, I know for a fact other people aren't teaching their kids, and I have to go up against that all the time. So, yeah, don't be naive. Teach your kids.
Yes.
Teach your
Mm-hmm.
kids. Teach them to lock the door. Teach them to call 911 when they hear these thuds in the night. My God,
Yeah.
you hear a thud in the night, don't text a girl downstairs who's as scared as you are. Call a real fireman. Shit.
Mm.
I'm it's just like, oh, it's a lot. In this case, it's had a lot at all times. But it's over with him. It's over for now. We will cover the sentencing. Obviously, we will see this thing all the way through to the end. As documents become unsealed, I know we'll have some shows and we'll talk about it and we'll go through some of that stuff. May not interest some people once the case is done, but it's going to interest me, and I don't think I'm alone in that. So we will
No, you're not
continue.
alone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll continue to definitely keep our eye on that docket and see when they start the process and what we can, glean from all these documents that are going to be coming out. I'm going to go and spend some time with the grandkid and do a couple things around the house. And I'm going to look and figure out what I can figure out about Stephon Stearns, guys. If they did end up holding that hearing today, I will get it. We'll do it tomorrow for sure. We'll go over it. And I'll see what I can find as far as updates go. Because when I checked last, nobody was covering it either. And there was a couple of people that had live scheduled, but I guess they unscheduled them. So we'll see. But I haven't had a chance to really dive into it and look yet. And honestly, Stearns is not going anywhere either. Whether I cover him tonight or in the morning, that hearing is not going anywhere. So we'll be back with it.
When is his trial supposed to start?
CSAM trial is supposed to start the 15th.
Oh, of this month?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And today was the pretrial hearing.
Mm.
So let me take
That's
one last look
interesting.
at the docket real quick, just to see if there's been an update since we've been live all day. I don't know what happened with the 9 a.m. hearing they were supposed to have. I couldn't get it. Trial TV didn't get it. The docket was supposed to cover the 12:30 hearing. I saw he canceled his live, so I don't know if they got a notification. I don't know what they have found out. I need to see if I can send the docket a message and see if he knows. Okay. All right. Hang on, baby. 1 second. 1 second, baby. Is it an emergency? Hey, 1 second. Okay, 6:30. They had the add-on for today for 1:30, and then it says felony court minutes were ordered. Pretrial defendant appearance previously waived. That was for today. It's requested, but there's no document. Felony court minutes order. Pretrial held, defendant's appearance previously waived, joint motion to continue, denied, case to remain set for trial. Now it says jury trial set for 7/22 at 9 a.m.
Okay, so they pushed theirs back a week.
Everything's been pushed back. So it looks like the actual hearing was also. Oh, no, they already had the joint motion to continue. That was filed on June 26th. That was denied, and case set for trial. So I don't know if they actually had the hearing or not. I'll find out, guys. And if they did, we'll review it in the morning and bring it to you guys. But that's the latest update on Stearns. 7/22 is the trial date set for the CSAM now. So my grandbaby's awake after being up all night playing his video games. So I better go see if he's hungry and needs food and all those things. Oh, you need food? Oh, okay, I'm coming, baby. Let me guess. Bacon. Yeah, okay. I'll be right there. Well, you said, what's going on here?
Oh, I just was wondering if Sirius had my Discord contact.
Okay, cool. Hey, Sirius. Thank you for coming in, Miss Shorty. Always good seeing you in here. We're glad you can make it in. Forrest, thank you for being here as always. Rachel and Butterfly, my mod team, you guys are great. Firefly, I think she had to go back to work.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, she probably is like, yeah, she probably did. Thank you for coming up and hanging out with us during the hearing and everything.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm actually probably going to rewatch it because, like I said, I was
Yeah.
hearing an echo and some other stuff during it. So I was like, no, I want to blow it up on my big monitor and really, really look at him this time, you know?
Oh yeah, I'll blow it up. I only heard a little bit of echo for a few minutes and it stopped, and it wasn't on my end because when I
Yeah.
muted myself out, I could still hear it.
I heard that and like some loud airy sound or whatever because I had to turn it up because of Bill. He was kind of low, and then it's like all of a sudden I was hearing some loud like air sound.
Oh,
So I
you
was
might
like,
have heard
okay.
my fan if you had to turn it up, but my fan is not
Oh,
going
okay.
off. The fan stays on. But yeah, I only heard that little echo of Bill. It was like Bill was talking and then he talked in an echo, but it went away after a few minutes. That's all I ever heard. But anyway, guys, thanks for coming in. Joe, thank you for coming, letting me come up this morning and co-host with you. You guys, if you missed it, go back over to Joe's channel, catch that morning show on replay where he had the body cam video sent to him of that WSU stop. And if he gets any more body cams, we will let you guys know going forward. All right, guys, until then, I'll see you back at some point in the morning. Yeah, I'll go see what I can find out about Stearns. In the meantime, y'all have a good evening. Bye, everyone.
Alrighty. Bye, guys.
Thank you all for watching this here video. Please like and subscribe and follow. Much love from Little Yas to each of you.